Chapter 11:27. After He Xian and the other two left, Mo Qingyun summoned Mo Zai and Mo to assist him. Mo Zai, Mo, I will be leaving the Mao Talisman sect for some time. Guard the Mao Talisman sect for me. If anyone dares to invade the Mao Talisman sect, kill them on my behalf. After summoning Mo Zai and Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately gave them orders. Mo Zai had already broken through to the sovereign realm, and Mo had reached the peak of the Supreme Being realm. As long as a late-stage sovereign realm expert came, the two of them would be able to defend themselves. Yes, this sovereign. After receiving Mo Qingyun's instructions, Mo Zai and Mo hurriedly responded. Okay. Mo Qingyun nodded his head in satisfaction when he saw the two's actions. To be safe, he took out the Yin Soul Puppet and Yang Soul Puppet and said, "These are the Yin Soul Puppet and Yang Soul Puppet. They can unleash the strength of a late-stage sovereign. If the two of you encounter someone you can't defeat, control them to fight." Mo Qingyun's mind was connected to his incarnation. Therefore, Mo Zai and Mo didn't need to familiarize themselves with the puppets to fight. Understood, this sovereign. After hearing Mo Qingyun's instructions, Mo Zai and Mo nodded their heads again and put away their puppets. After that, Mo Qingyun instructed the two of them again before leaving the Mao Talisman sect in a flash. After Mo Qingyun left the Mao Talisman sect, Mo Zai and Mo's figures moved and concealed themselves in the sect. According to Mo Qingyun's instructions, if the Mao Talisman sect wasn't in danger, they only needed to silently hide. After Mo Qingyun left the Mao Talisman sect, he headed straight for the Pill Talisman sect. He was prepared to destroy the Pill Talisman sect. The Pill Talisman sect was the furthest away from the Mao Talisman sect. Mo Qingyun was the fastest, so he chose to head there alone. Apart from that, there was another reason why Mo Qingyun headed to the Pill Talisman sect. The Pill Talisman sect had the most medicinal ingredient, teleportation door. In order to increase his speed, Mo Qingyun directly used the teleportation gate, which increased his speed by several times. One day later, Mo Qingyun arrived at the Pill Symbol door. Arriving outside the Pill Seal Gate, Mo Qingyun was not in a hurry to enter the Pill Seal Gate. Instead, he regulated his breathing and recovered. Several hours later, Mo Qingyun's condition had recovered to its peak, and he stopped cultivating. After that, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and directly walked into the Pill Token School. Arriving at the Pill Seal School, Mo Qingyun did not say much nonsense and directly attacked the Pill Seal School's people. The Law of Death. In order to increase his killing efficiency and speed, Mo Qingyun released his perfected Law of Death, which enveloped the entire Pill Talisman School. Under the corrosion of the perfected Law of Death, the negative effects of weakness, aging, and physical corrosion immediately appeared on the disciples of the Pill Seal School. Then, the disciples of the Pill Talisman School fell down one by one, lying on the ground as they were devoured by death. In just a short while, close to half of the disciples of the Pill Seal School died little by little. As for the remaining disciples, even if they did not die directly, they were sickly and half dead. Although the stronger elders of the Pill Talisman School were in a much better condition than the disciples, they were also struggling on the verge of death. Due to the sudden death of a large number of disciples, the people at the helm of the Pill Palace School quickly discovered Mo Qingyun's existence. In a short while, dozens of 8th Seal Symbol Venerables surrounded Mo Qingyun. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that there was actually a 9th Seal Symbol Overlord among these people. Mo Qingyun, it's actually you. After these people surrounded Mo Qingyun, an elder with red eyebrows among them looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. This elder was called Jin Peng, and he was a supreme elder of the Pill Seal School. He had seen Mo Qingyun participate in the 10,000 Talisman Immortal meeting. Mo Qingyun? Upon hearing Jin Peng's surprised words, the other elders of the Pill Seal School asked curiously, "Supreme Elder Jin Peng, Do you know this kid? Upon hearing the crowd's question, Jean Peng nodded his head with a grave expression and said, "This kid is the one who massacred our 4 ultimate sects during the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. It's actually that kid. Isn't he only at the 6th seal? How is this possible? It's only been 10 years. How can he be an 8th seal symbol venerate? So what if he's an 8th seal symbol venerate? Can't we deal with him with so many of us? That's right. We'll make sure he doesn't return today." After learning about Mo Qingyun's identity, the faces of the Pill Seal School experts darkened and intense killing intent radiated from their bodies. At this moment, the 9th seal symbol overlord of the Pill Seal School said in a deep voice, "This kid has already comprehended the power of laws. His strength is not to be underestimated. You must not be careless. I'll be the main attacker later, and you all will support me from the side." "Yes, Patriarch." Upon hearing the 9th seal symbol overlord's words, the 8th seal symbol venerables of the Pill symbol sect hurriedly nodded in acknowledgement. After giving instructions to the people behind him, the 9th seal symbol overlord of the Pill seal school charged at Mo Qingyun and said, "Kid, an 8 seal sect doesn't only have 8 seal experts. You probably didn't expect that I'm already a 9th seal expert, right? Is a 9th seal expert very powerful?" Mo Qingyun pursed his lips in response to the Pill Seal School's ancestors' words. He said disdainfully, "In my eyes, you're no different from an 8 seal or 7 seal cultivator. Golden Snake Shining Halberd." Mo Qingyun took out the immortal immolating halberd and stabbed it at the Pill Seal School's patriarch. Mo Qingyun's body glowed brightly and disappeared before the eyes of the Pill Seal School members. Spurt. When Mo Qingyun reappeared, his halberd had already pierced through the Pill Seal School's patriarch's chest. Bang! As the immortal immolating halberd pierced through his chest, a ball of flames erupted from the Pill Seal School's patriarch's body and burned him to ashes. The patriarch was dead. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone's expression was shocked, and they were all stunned on the spot. The strongest existence of the Pill Seal School, the patriarch of a 9th seal talisman overlord, was actually no match for a single move from Mo Qingyun. This was too shocking. Didn't this mean that they were even less of a match for Mo Qingyun? The sky-breaking halberd of heavenly flames. Mo Qingyun ignored the shock of the Pill Seal School's members and swept the immortal immolating halberd out. A 1,000-meter-long flaming dragon burst forth from the immortal immolating halberd and engulfed the Pill Seal School's members. The Pill Seal School's disciples didn't even have time to scream when they were engulfed by this huge flame dragon. They were burned to ashes by the flame dragon. After killing the Pill Seal School's members, Mo Qingyun didn't stop and began to loot the Pill Seal School. Chapter 11:28. The Pill Talisman School is truly worthy of being a sect that has existed for several tens of thousands of years. The richness of their foundation is truly astonishing. On the way back to the Mao Fu sect, Mo Qingyun revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. He was very satisfied with his harvest this time. "I didn't expect that I would be able to gather nearly 90% of the ingredients for the profound underworld soul-nourishing pill just by plundering the Pill Talisman School's treasures. This is truly surprising." At this moment, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but feel a strong sense of anticipation for the treasures of the other 3 sections. Afterward, Mo Qingyun rushed back to the Mao Fu sect with this sense of anticipation. On the way back to the Mao Fu sect, Mo Qingyun didn't use the teleportation gate. Instead, he used teleportation to hurry back. Teleportation was a technique possessed by Exalted Realm experts, and it was also the signature ability of Exalted Realm experts. When Mo Qingyun used teleportation to travel, it consumed less energy than when he used the teleportation gate. However, the speed of travel was also slower. Therefore, Mo Qingyun spent 2 days before he finally returned to the Mao Fu sect. By the time Mo Qingyun returned to the Mao Fu sect, He Xian and the Iron Wing had already returned. Only Savage Beast was still on his way back. However, Emo Qingyun wasn't worried about Savage Beast's safety. This was because he had already received a transmission from Savage Beast. Emo Qingyun returned to the Mao Fu sect and took the Cosmos pouches from He Xian and Iron Wing. Then, he stored the two into his Soul Palace. After storing He Xian and Iron Wing in his Soul Palace, Missouri Qingyun found Mo Zai and Iron Wing and sent them into the Five Directions Pagoda. After Mo Qingyun was done, Savage Beast rushed back to the Mao Fu sect and handed over the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School to him. After receiving the Cosmos pouches from Savage Beast, Mo Qingyun stored Savage Beast in his Soul Palace. Then, he began to check the treasures of the four sections. Mo Qingyun first checked the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School. The Tyrannical Talisman School was famous for its powerful physique. Therefore, the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School mainly focused on strengthening one's physique. 1,000-year colored glass crystal. After checking the treasures of Tyrannical Talisman School, Mo Qingyun's treasures, a milky white crystalline object. The 10,000-year stalactite crystal was condensed from the essence of stalactite after 10,000 years, and it was a rare body refinement material. This piece of 10,000 years colored glazed stalactite is as big as a washbasin. If I can refine it, my physical strength will definitely increase by a level. Looking at the 10,000-year colored glazed stalactite in front of him, Mo Qingyun's expression became excited. He was looking forward to the next item. But thousand, by the thousand years. There were nearly 1,000,000 alchemy materials, enough to refine 100,000 king pills, 10,000 emperor pills, and dozens of supreme pills. Apart from that, there were also several thousand tyrannical talismans. They could change the physique of ordinary talisman masters, giving them the qualifications to cultivate the Tyrannical Talisman School. The remaining treasures were talismans. Among them, there were several hundred 8-seal talismans, 10,000 7-seal talismans, and countless talismans below the 7-seal level. With these treasures, the overall strength of the Sea Talisman School and the Thatch Talisman School will increase by several folds. Mo Qingyun was excited as he looked at the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School. He sighed in his heart. Mo Qingyun then began to check the treasures of the Shadow Talisman School. Compared to the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School, the treasures of the Shadow Talisman School were much less useful to Mo Qingyun. They were all rare and unpopular items. Apart from some alchemy materials and some talismans of the Shadow Talisman School, the other treasures didn't have much use. In the end, the value of the treasures of the Shadow Talisman School was not even half of what the Tyrannical Talisman School had. Mo Qingyun couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He then began to check the treasures of the Sword Talisman School. When he opened the Cosmos sack that contained the Sword Talisman School's treasures, the richness of the treasures was obviously several levels higher. Even the treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School paled in comparison. The treasures of the Tyrannical Talisman School were almost half of what they had. No wonder they are the most powerful sect among the 5 absolute sect. Mo Qingyun couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the treasures of the Sword Talisman School. He then began to check the treasures of the Sword Talisman School. After checking the treasures, Mo Qingyun smiled happily. He said excitedly, "No wonder they are the Sword Talisman School. They even have such abundant alchemy materials. With this, I have gathered all the alchemy materials needed to refine the great mystery underworld soul-nourishing elixir." After checking the alchemy materials, Mo Qingyun began to check the talismans of the Sword Talisman School and other miscellaneous items. After he was done, a pile of stones filled with spiritual energy attracted Mo Qingyun's attention. Celestial stones. There were so many celestial stones in the treasures of the Sword Talisman School. The number was close to 100,000. 100,000 celestial stones. Looking at the pile of celestial stones in front of him, Mo Qingyun became excited. He said in surprise, "With these 100,000 celestial stones, I don't have to worry about running out of celestial stones when I use the spiritual puppet in battle." After saying this excitedly, Mo Qingyun carefully put away the celestial stones and took out the cosmos sack of the Elixir Talisman School. When the Elixir Talisman School was collecting items, Mo Qingyun paid attention to the alchemy materials, but he didn't pay attention to the other items. Therefore, it was necessary to take a good inventory before they could be sorted out and put away. Since the Elixir Talisman School didn't need to check the alchemy materials, it was much easier to check the other items. After a round of checking, a strange token attracted Mo Qingyun's attention. The token looked very ordinary, but it contained a very strange power, which made Mo Qingyun's heart palpitate. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun carefully picked up the token and put it in his hand to check. Immortal Seeking Academy. After taking the token in his hand and studying it, the 4 simple words on the token entered Mo Qingyun's sight. Looking at the 4 simple words, Mo Qingyun guessed the function of the token. It should be the identity token of the Immortal Seeking Academy. Where is this Immortal Seeking Academy? It's just an identity token, but it contains such a terrifying aura. Looking at the identity token in his hand, Mo Qingyun was shocked. He was curious about the Immortal Seeking Academy. Then, Mo Qingyun released a trace of soul power and penetrated it into the identity token, trying to refine it. Buzz. As soon as Mo Qingyun's soul power penetrated the token, there was a buzzing sound in his mind. He was hit by a terrifying force and there was a sharp pain. Then, Mo Qingyun's sea of consciousness began to crack, and obvious cracks appeared. After a while, when the shocking force gradually dissipated, Mo Qingyun's consciousness returned to normal. As Mo Qingyun's consciousness returned to normal, his sea of consciousness also began to recover. Is this the means of an immortal? Recalling the terrifying force, Mo Qingyun's face showed lingering fear. He said with lingering fear, "Just a remnant of consciousness almost destroyed my sea of consciousness. This is too terrifying. Fortunately, I refined the absolute beginning fortune fruit. Otherwise, my sea of consciousness would have been destroyed and I would have died." After calming down the shock and lingering fear in his heart, Mo Qingyun's curiosity about the Immortal Seeking Academy became stronger. Chapter 11:29. After sorting out all the items, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more time and began to refine the Taishan soul-nourishing pill. Immortal Forest Fire Dew Crystal, Revolving Sun Spring, 3 Ponds Water Cloud Pear, Grey Wolf Electric Luan Leaf. Mo Qingyun took out the materials needed to refine the Taishan soul-nourishing pill from his cosmos bag and arranged them in an orderly manner in front of him. After taking out the materials, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and began to refine the Taishan soul-nourishing pill. The Taishan soul-nourishing pill was only a venerable grade elixir. Moreover, Mo Qingyun had refined it many times and was very familiar with it. Therefore, it was not difficult for Mo Qingyun to refine the Taishan soul-nourishing pill. Bang! As Mo Qingyun took out the sacred beast cauldron, he injected a soul fire into the cauldron and threw in the elixir refining materials. Under the refinement of the soul fire supported by the law of fire, the elixir refining materials were smelted and purified, turning into puffs of pure elixir. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and began to solidify the elixir into elixir. After a while, a strong elixir fragrance spread from the sacred beast cauldron. As the elixir fragrance spread, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky above the sacred beast cauldron. It was an elixir image. Seeing that the elixir image of the Taishan soul-nourishing pill was formed, Mo Qingyun quickly formed a hand seal and hit the Taishan soul-nourishing pill in the sacred beast cauldron. Suddenly, the 2 Taishen soul-nourishing pills in the sacred beast cauldron slowly flew out of the cauldron and flew to the center of the elixir image. They were surrounded by the elixir image like 2 dragons playing with a pearl. The elixir image circled the 2 elixirs for a while, and then slowly retracted its light and merged with the 2 elixirs. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun raised his hand and took the 2 elixirs into his hand. The Taishen soul-nourishing pill is refined. It's time to heal Brother Lu and Senior Brother Ho. Looking at the 2 Taishen soul-nourishing pills in his hand, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately left the 5-directional small pagoda. After exiting the 5-directional pagoda, Mo Qingyun left his room and headed to Lu Feng and Ho's room. A short while later, Mo Qingyun arrived at Lu Feng's room. He pushed open the door and walked in. "Brother, you're here." "Junior brother, our injuries," Lu Feng said Lu and Lu. "That's good. However, I only suppressed your injuries last time and didn't let them completely recover." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he heard the 2 of them. He took out the Taishen spring soul-nourishing pill and said, "Big brother, senior brother, I refined a cauldron of Taishen spring soul-nourishing pills not long ago. Consume it now." With the assistance of the Taishen spring soul-nourishing pills, you should be able to recover very quickly. Honorable grade elixir, Taishen soul-nourishing pill. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ho Shihua's expression suddenly became startled and excited. Ho Shihua had heard about the honorable grade Taishen soul-nourishing pill. It was a divine elixir that could heal soul injuries. He did not expect Mo Qingyun to refine such an elixir. "That's right." Seeing Ho Shihua's excited expression, Mo Qingyun handed the Taishen soul-nourishing pill to Ho Shihua and said, "Recently, I obtained the materials to refine the Taishen soul-nourishing pill. So, I refined it. It's really the Taishen soul-nourishing pill. Moreover, it's a perfect grade." Ho Shihua could not help but exclaim when he received the Taishen soul-nourishing pill from Mo Qingyun. He looked at Mo Qingyun with admiration and said, "Junior brother, your talent in alchemy really puts me to shame." "Brother Ho, Qingyun's talent in cultivation seems to put us to shame even more," Lu Feng said with a bitter expression after hearing Ho Shihua's words. He could not help but sigh. Ho Shihua immediately fell silent when he heard Lu Feng's words. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a strange expression. Lu Feng was right. Compared to Mo Qingyun's talent in alchemy, Ho Shihua's talent in cultivation seemed to be more terrifying. "Senior brother, big brother, please refine the Taishen soul-nourishing pill. I won't disturb your recovery." After handing over the Taishen soul-nourishing pill to Lu Feng and Ho Shihua, Mo Qingyun did not want to stay any longer and left their room. After leaving Lu Feng's room, Mo Qingyun went to Elder Tan's residence to hand over some cultivation resources to him. A short while later, in Elder Tan's residence, "Qingyun, you're here." Elder Tan greeted Mo Qingyun with a gratified expression when he saw Mo Qingyun walking into the small courtyard. Elder Tan was extremely gratified to have Mo Qingyun as his disciple. When he thought about it, he could not help but feel grateful. Back then, when he accepted Mo Qingyun as his disciple, he had to coax him to succeed. In truth, there was an element of luck involved in it. After greeting Mo Qingyun, Elder Tan's expression turned serious as he asked, "Qingyun, your appointment with Sect Master Yao Honghu is coming soon. When do you plan to go to the Heavenly Demon Talisman Sect?" "I'm going right now," Mo Qingyun replied solemnly when he heard Elder Tan's question. He continued, "I'm here to look for Master because I want to give you some things. After I hand them over to you, I'll set off for the Heavenly Demon Talisman Sect." Elder Tan's expression changed slightly when he heard that Mo Qingyun wanted to give him something. A hint of curiosity could be seen on his face. Subsequently, under Elder Tan's gaze, Mo Qingyun took out several Qiankuan bags and handed them over to Elder Tan. When Elder Tan saw the Qianquan bags handed over by Emo Qingyun, he revealed a puzzled and curious expression as he opened all the Qianquan bags. Elder Tan was instantly stunned when he saw the items in the Qianquan bags. He could not believe what he was seeing from the corner of his eyes. The Qianquan bags in front of him were filled with all sorts of cultivation resources. The number of resources was shocking. In particular, there were talismans from the 4 ultimate sects. These items could change the physique of ordinary talisman masters, allowing them to obtain the qualifications to cultivate the 4 ultimate sects: Overlord Body Talisman, Shadow Talisman, Sword Talisman, and Elixir Talisman? Elder Tan's eyes widened when he saw the 4 types of talismans in the Qianquan bags. He exclaimed in shock, "Qingyun, where did you get these talismans from? Did you rob the 4 ultimate sects?" "No. From now on, the 4 ultimate sects will no longer exist in the Immortal Road." When he heard Elder Tan's question, Emo Qingyun shook his head indifferently and replied calmly. "The 4 ultimate sects will no longer exist in the Immortal Road?" When Elder Tan heard this, he could not help but frown and reveal a puzzled expression. However, he quickly understood the meaning of Emo Qingyun's words. He immediately revealed a shocked expression and said, You destroyed the 4 ultimate sects?" "Yes." Seeing that Elder Tan had guessed correctly, Emo Qingyun did not deny it and nodded in acknowledgement. "SSS." Seeing Emo Qingyun admit it, Elder Tan immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. The shock in his heart grew even more. Chapter 1130. After handing over the items to Elder Tan, Emo Qingyun left Elder Tan's residence and returned to his own. After returning to his residence, Emo Qingyun summoned He Xian and Iron Wing. He said to the 2 of them, "Senior He Xian, Iron Wing, I will be leaving the Mao Fu sect for a period of time. During this time, the 2 of you will temporarily guard the Mao Fu sect for me." "All right." After hearing Emo Qingyun's instructions, He Xian and Iron Wing didn't even think about it and agreed to Emo Qingyun's request. After instructing He Xian and Iron Wing to stay in the Mao Fu sect, Emo Qingyun didn't stay any longer and directly set off for the Sky Demon Talisman sect. After leaving the Mao Fu sect, Emo Qingyun summoned Savage Beast and had Savage Beast carry him to the Sky Demon Talisman sect. While having Savage Beast carry him, Emo Qingyun's figure flashed and entered the 5 Directions Miniature Pagoda to begin cultivating. After entering the 5 Directions Miniature Pagoda, Emo Qingyun took out the 10,000-year colored glass crystal and began refining and absorbing it. Under Emo Qingyun's refinement, the 10,000-year colored glass crystal began to melt bit by bit and turned into milky white water droplet. The 10,000-year colored glass crystal turned into a milky white water droplet and entered Emo Qingyun's body through Emo Qingyun's pores. After the 10,000-year colored glass crystal entered Emo Qingyun's body, it was refined bit by Emo Qingyun and changed the strength of Emo Qingyun's physical body. Under the nourishment of the 10,000-year colored glass crystal, Emo Qingyun's body began to emit specks of light, giving off a crystalline and translucent feeling. Not only that, but Emo Qingyun's body also excreted some sticky substance that emitted an unpleasant smell. As the viscous substance was expelled, Emo Qingyun felt that his body had instantly become much lighter, and his connection with the heavens and earth had also become much stronger. When this feeling appeared, Emo Qingyun immersed himself wholeheartedly in cultivation, absorbing the 10,000-year stalactite-colored glass crystal like he was drinking breast milk. The time that followed passed by slowly. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. At this moment, a golden light appeared above Emo Qingyun. It condensed into a golden crown and slowly entered Emo Qingyun's body. Following this, a wave of domineering king's aura emanated from Emo Qingyun's body. After such a scene appeared, Emo Qingyun, who was in the middle of cultivation, suddenly opened his eyes with joy and said excitedly, I didn't expect that after refining more than half of the 10,000-year colored glass crystal, my physical strength would be promoted to the level of a king weapon. Seeing that his physical strength had improved, Mo Qingyun stretched his body and felt the changes in his body. After a while, Mo Qingyun smiled with satisfaction. He was very satisfied with the situation of his body. He could clearly feel that not only had his body become more flexible, but it had also become more agile. Not only that, but Mo Qingyun's punches and kicks also exuded a king's aura, which caused a kind of spiritual intimidation. This kind of intimidation was a bit similar to the oppression of the bloodline power, but it was somewhat different. The oppression of the bloodline power leaned towards the oppression of the body, while the oppression of the intimidation leaned towards the oppression of the soul. These sticky substances sticking to my body are really uncomfortable. After stretching his body, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and showed a somewhat disgusted expression. Then, Mo Qingyun released the law of water and cleaned his body. After the sticky substances were cleaned, Mo Qingyun immediately felt refreshed and said with a faint smile, "Although my physical strength has been promoted to the level of a king weapon, there are still some 10,000-year colored glass crystals in my body that have not been refined and absorbed. I will refine them now." After thinking about this, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and entered into cultivation again to refine the remaining 10,000-year colored glass crystals in his body. After entering into cultivation again to refine the remaining 10,000-year colored glass crystals in his body, the comfortable feeling appeared again. After this comfortable feeling appeared, Mo Qingyun clearly felt that his physical body was strengthening little by little. 1 month later, Mo Qingyun withdrew from cultivation again, and the aura exuding from his body was stronger than a month ago. Mid-grade king weapons physical strength. After a month of cultivation and refining the 10,000-year colored glass crystals in his body, Mo Qingyun's physical strength was strengthened once again. However, Mo Qingyun did not stop cultivating. Instead, he began to condense the essence force in his body and integrate the law force into the fortune mainland. As the law force integrated into the fortune mainland began to undergo great changes, and its territory expanded several times. 10 days later, Mo Qingyun finally integrated all 9 kinds of law force into the fortune mainland. As the fortune mainland's law force merged with Huang Xiaolong's fortune mainland, its surface area had expanded by nearly 1,000 times compared to before. At this moment, the momentum exuding from Mo Qingyun's body also soared. Mo Qingyun's cultivation had finally broken through to the sovereign realm. Sovereign realm, so this is the sovereign realm, truly powerful. As his cultivation broke through to the sovereign realm, Mo Qingyun instantly discovered that his strength had increased by several times. Pring pring pring. At this moment, Mo Qingyun exuded an explosive power as he raised his hands and stomped his feet. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun's face lit up with joy, and he excitedly said, "With my current strength, if I meet Sovereign Devil Ox and the others again, I can easily kill them in a single exchange." Mo Qingyun's heart leaped with joy, and he no longer hesitated, once again immersing himself in cultivation. As Mo Qingyun entered a state of cultivation, he madly absorbed the essence force inside the 5 Directions Pagoda to replenish the fortune mainland's spiritual energy need. Soon, the essence force inside the 5 Directions Pagoda was completely absorbed by Mo Qingyun, and there were no longer any traces of energy fluctuations. After my cultivation broke through to the sovereign realm, the amount of essence force inside the fortune mainland has increased by a lot. Seeing that the 5 Directions Pagoda's essence force was completely absorbed, Mo Qingyun sighed and took out a large amount of Pill Palace's origin crystals to refine. Soon, several small mountains of Pill Palace's origin crystals appeared around Mo Qingyun's body. After taking out the Pill Palace's origin crystals, Mo Qingyun began refining them, extracting strands of essence force from them. Under Mo Qingyun's refinement, The small mountains of Pill Palace's crystals were refined one after another, turning into piles of useless powder. Even so, the amount of essence force needed to fill the Fortune mainland still hadn't reached the point of saturation. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun's expression changed, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. I didn't expect that after refining all 300 million Pill Palace's origin crystals, the Fortune mainland still hasn't reached the point of saturation. It seems like I still need to refine immortal stones. Chapter 1131. The amount of spiritual energy contained in immortal stones was far from what Pill Palace crystals could compare to. According to Mo Qingyun's estimation, the amount of spiritual energy contained in one immortal stone was roughly equivalent to 100,000 Pill Palace crystals. In that case, the amount of spiritual energy contained in 50,000 immortal stones was roughly equivalent to 5 billion Pill Palace crystals. With the replenishment of 50,000 immortal stones, the amount of elemental energy required by the Fortune mainland was no longer a problem. As the immortal stones were emptied of their spiritual energy, they turned into ordinary stones. The amount of elemental energy in the Fortune mainland grew denser and denser. As the amount of elemental energy in the Fortune mainland continued to increase, the strength of the natives living on the Fortune mainland also rose along with the tide. Following that, another wave of breakthroughs was set off on the Fortune mainland. One by one, the natives' cultivation broke through. As the Aborigines made breakthroughs in their cultivation, waves of strange energy once again emanated from their bodies. After this strange energy was emitted, it flew out from the Fortune mainland and entered Mo Qingyun's body. When this strange energy entered Mo Qingyun's body, it strengthened Mo Qingyun's physical body, meridians, and even his sea of consciousness in all aspects. This kind of strengthening wasn't visible on the surface, but it truly existed, as if it was a kind of subtle strengthening. Regarding this, Mo Qingyun didn't mind too much. In short, this wasn't a bad thing. Just like this, Mo Qingyun absorbed the spiritual energy from the immortal stones while being strengthened by the strange energy. Of course, as this strange energy strengthened Mo Qingyun's physical body, the amount of strange energy in his body also increased rapidly. After roughly 3 months, Mo Qingyun stopped refining the immortal stones. The Fortune mainland's elemental energy was finally saturated. The amount of elemental energy in the Fortune mainland is finally completely saturated. Seeing that the Fortune mainland's elemental energy was saturated, Mo Qingyun withdrew from his cultivation and kept the remaining immortal stones. After 3 months of refining, he had refined a total of close to 40,000 immortal stones. This was truly a terrifying consumption. Fortunately, Mo Qingyun had obtained 100,000 immortal stones from the Sword Talisman sect. Otherwise, he would not be able to bear such a consumption. After refining 40,000 immortal stones, Mo Qingyun's cultivation base had improved significantly. Although Mo Qingyun's cultivation hadn't reached the intermediate Dominator realm, it had reached the peak of the early Dominator realm. He was only a step away from the intermediate Dominator realm. With my current strength, even if I don't use any of my trump cards, I can still put up a fight against an ordinary Sovereign Realm expert. After checking the progress of his strength, Mo Qingyun immediately had a rough estimate of his current strength. Young Lord, we've reached the Sky Demon Talisman Gate. When Mo Qingyun stopped cultivating, Savage Beast's spiritual transmission appeared in his mind. Have we arrived? After receiving Savage Beast's spiritual transmission, Mo Qingyun's expression changed. He was a little surprised. He had just finished cultivating and Savage Beast had arrived at the Sky Demon Talisman Gate. What a coincidence! Immediately, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and left the 5-direction pagoda. After arriving at the 5-direction pagoda, Mo Qingyun kept Savage Beast in the Soul Palace and walked towards the Sky Demon Talisman Gate alone. After a while, Emo Qingyun arrived in front of a huge devil's denver. He saw a huge stone door that was tightly shut. This was where the Sky Demon Talisman Gate was located. The mountain gate of the Sky Demon Talisman Gate was very different from other sections. It was a huge devil's den built underground. After taking a quick look at the devil's den in front of him, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and walked towards the huge stone door in front of him. Dong dong dong. When he arrived in front of the stone door, Emo Qingyun picked up a stone hammer and knocked a few times on the stone bell outside the stone door. Boom boom boom. After Emo Qingyun knocked on the stone bell a few times, it let out a deafening sound. Da-da-da. After that, a small window appeared beside the huge stone door. A head popped out from it and said, "Friend, our Sky Demon Talisman Gate is currently in a sealed state. We are not receiving any guests." Hearing this person's words, Emo Qingyun did not reveal a surprised expression. With a calm face, he said, "Senior brother, I am Emo Qingyun from the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering. I just entered the Sky Demon Talisman Gate 10 years ago. This is my identity token. Please help me pass on the message." After speaking, Emo Qingyun took out his identity token and handed it over to the disciple. "Emo Qingyun, you are the number 1 of the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering, junior brother Emo Qingyun?" After hearing Emo Qingyun's identity, the disciple's face was instantly filled with shock. Then, without any hesitation, he said excitedly to Emo Qingyun, "Junior brother Emo, please wait for a moment. I will go and inform the sect leader and the rest." "Thank you, senior brother." Emo Qingyun's face was filled with gratitude as he humbly clasped his hands together. Then, the disciple ran off to inform Yao Honghu of Emo Qingyun's arrival. Not long after the disciple left, Emo Qingyun heard a series of hurried footsteps coming from the stone cave. Boom boom boom. Following the footsteps, Emo Qingyun saw the huge stone door slowly rising, producing a series of loud noises. As the stone door rose, the ground began to shake as if something huge was happening. After a while, the stone door stopped and several figures walked out of the stone cave. Leading them was the sect leader of the Sky Demon Talisman sect, Yao Honghu. Beside him stood several elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect. Disciple Emo Qingyun greets the sect leader and elders. When he saw Yao Honghu and the rest appear, Emo Qingyun put on a humble expression and clasped his hands together to greet them. "No need to be so polite. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back." When he saw Emo Qingyun's actions, Yao Honghu revealed a joyful smile and waved his hand at Emo Qingyun. When Yao Honghu waved his hand, a peak 9th seal symbol overlord elder beside him suddenly frowned and said in surprise, 8 seals, that's not right. It seems to be 9 seals?" When they heard this elder's words, the expressions of Yao Honghu and the rest changed. They released their soul force to sense Emo Qingyun's cultivation. When they sensed it, they were all shocked by the fluctuations of Emo Qingyun's aura. Although they couldn't be sure of Emo Qingyun's current cultivation, they were certain that Emo Qingyun's current cultivation was definitely above 8 seals. In just 10 years, Emo Qingyun's cultivation had broken through from 6 seals to 8 seals. This kind of cultivation speed was really a little frightening. "Qingyun, what's your current cultivation?" After sensing Emo Qingyun's aura, Yao Honghu revealed an excited expression and asked Emo Qingyun in an expectant tone. "You can say it's 9 seals." In response to Yao Honghu's question, Emo Qingyun didn't hide anything and told him his cultivation with a faint smile. 9 seals. It really was 9 seals. When they heard Emo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu and the rest trembled and their expressions became extremely excited. Chapter 1132. Good, good, good. After learning about Emo Qingyun's true cultivation base, Yao Honghu's face lit up and he said the word good 3 times in a row. From this, it could be seen how excited he was right now. Yao Honghu was not the only one who was excited. The elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect were also excited after learning about Emo Qingyun's true cultivation base. In this way, the Sky Demon Talisman sect would have another 9 seals expert. Moreover, it would be an extremely talented 9 seals expert. This was an incredible matter. Sect leader, with Qingyun in our Sky Demon Talisman sect, we will definitely surpass the other 9 sects in less than 10 years. If those hypocrites from the 9 Great Immortal Gates knew that Qingyun had improved so quickly, they would definitely go crazy with anger. Humph. These guys want to use the same method to deal with our Sky Demon Talisman sect. What a fool's dream. In an instant, all the elders were agitated and spoke indignantly. They despised the 9 Great Immortal Gates to the extreme. Haha, everyone, let me return to the sect first. Hearing the elders' words, Yao Honghu smiled happily. He called out to them and turned to walk into the Devil's Den. Seeing Yao Honghu's action, the elders no longer hesitated and followed him into the Devil's Den. After entering the Devil's Den, Yao Honghu ordered the guarding disciples to put down the huge rock at the entrance. Sect leader, please wait. Seeing Yao Honghu's actions, Emo Qingyun raised his hand and called out to him, stopping him from doing so. Qingyun, what's wrong? Seeing Emo Qingyun's action, Yao Honghu was puzzled and asked Emo Qingyun in return. Yao Honghu was not the only one who was puzzled. Even the elders at the side looked at Emo Qingyun with puzzled expressions. As far as they were concerned, the Sky Devil Talisman sect was currently in a state of seclusion, so it was only natural for them to lower the boulder at the entrance. Seeing the puzzled gazes of Yao Honghu and the others, Emo Qingyun revealed a solemn expression and said in a deep voice, Sect Master, Elders, in my opinion, it's time for my Sky Devil Talisman sect to close its doors. It's time for us to reopen our doors. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu and the others fell silent. They felt that Emo Qingyun's words made sense. However, in the face of the combined pressure of the 9 Great Immortal Gates, it was still too early to open the gates. Sect leader, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, we can't avoid it. I think that sealing the sect will only make us lose our momentum. It won't solve any problems. Seeing that Yao Honghu and the others didn't speak, Emo Qingyun revealed a solemn expression and expressed his opinion. Perhaps it won't be long before the 9 Great Immortal Gates cease to exist. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu and the others were shocked. From Emo Qingyun's words, they were able to glean some information. Emo Qingyun was going to deal with the 9 Great Immortal Gates. Qingyun, I know you're furious about Emo Qing's death, but the strength of the 9 Great Immortal Gates is not to be underestimated. You can't be careless in the slightest. After knowing Emo Qingyun's thoughts, Yao Honghu revealed a solemn expression and hurriedly advised Emo Qingyun, with your outstanding cultivation talent, as long as you endure for another 10 years, you'll be able to sweep through the 9 Great Immortal Gates. At that time, it won't be too late to avenge Emo Qing. That's right, revenge is a dish best served cold. Qingyun, you mustn't be rash. After hearing Yao Honghu's words, the elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect revealed solemn expressions as they tried to persuade Emo Qingyun. In response to everyone's persuasion, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, Sect leader, elders, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I won't act rashly. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu and the others relaxed. They were really worried that Emo Qingyun would act rashly and charge into the 9 Great Immortal Gates alone. In their opinion, although Emo Qingyun's cultivation talent was astonishing and his current strength far surpassed his peers, compared to the 9 Great Immortal Gates, there was still a huge gap. Sect leader, I've been in the Sky Demon Talisman sect for a while. Why haven't I seen the invincible blade? After walking with Yao Honghu and the others for a while, Emo Qingyun realized that he hadn't seen the invincible blade. He asked Yao Honghu with a puzzled expression. He got the news from Fong Peng that the invincible blade was brought back to the Sky Demon Talisman sect by Yao Honghu after killing Li Liangchen. Now that he had come to the Sky Demon Talisman sect, the invincible blade, as his servant, should have come out to meet him. The invincible blade. Hearing Mo Qingyun ask about the invincible blade, the expressions of Yao Honghu and the others sank. Their faces became solemn. Looking at their expressions, Mo Qingyun could guess that something bad must have happened to the invincible blade. What happened to the invincible blade? Mo Qingyun revealed a nervous expression and asked Yao Honghu again. Hearing Mo Qingyun's question again, Yao Honghu didn't hide it anymore. He sighed and said, in order to avenge Mo Qingyun, when the invincible blade killed Li Liangchen, he seemed to have used some forbidden secret technique, which caused his cultivation to skyrocket. However, because of this, he also became obsessed and completely lost his mind, turning into a murderous maniac. Could it be that with your ability, you can't suppress the demonic thoughts in his heart? Hearing Yao Honghu's words, Mo Qingyun's expression couldn't help but freeze, revealing a strong concern. No matter what, he couldn't shirk the responsibility for the invincible blade becoming like this. We're good at soul cultivation, but the demonic thoughts in the invincible blade's heart came from the bloodline in his body. We can't do anything about it. Yao Honghu sighed, revealing a helpless expression on his face. Bring me to see him. Hearing Yao Honghu's words, Mo Qingyun didn't want to delay any longer and decided to take a look at the invincible blade's situation. Okay. Hearing Mo Qingyun's request, Yao Honghu nodded and began to bring Mo Qingyun to see the invincible blade. In a short while, Mo Qingyun came to a spacious secret chamber under Yao Honghu's lead. Mo Qingyun. In this secret chamber, there was a powerful forbidden formation that trapped the invincible saber. Kill, kill, kill. In the forbidden formation, the invincible blade had a crazy expression on his face, constantly bombarding the forbidden formation. Every time the invincible blade waved his palm, there would be a blade radiance that was comparable to a Supreme Realm expert's full blow, bombarding the forbidden formation overbearingly. However, the forbidden formation was extremely powerful, enough to withstand a blow from a peak Sovereign Realm expert. Hence, the invincible blade couldn't break it. Seeing the invincible blade in such a state, Mo Qingyun couldn't bear to see it. He turned to Yao Honghu and said, Sect Leader, open the forbidden formation first. I want to go in and take a look at the invincible blade situation. Qingyun, the invincible blade is unconscious now. If you enter the forbidden formation, I'm afraid that he will. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu immediately showed a worried expression and tried to persuade Mo Qingyun nervously. However, before Yao Honghu could finish his words, he was interrupted by Mo Qingyun. After interrupting Yao Honghu's persuasion, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and said indifferently, Sect Leader, don't worry. With my current cultivation and strength, the invincible blade can't hurt me. Chapter 1133. In Yao Honghu's opinion, Mo Qingyun was right. With Mo Qingyun's current strength as a ninth seal charm overlord, the invincible blade could not hurt him. Therefore, Mo Qingyun would not be in too much danger after entering the forbidden formation. Moreover, he would also enter the array formation with Mo Qingyun, so all he had to do was guard Mo Qingyun at all times. Roar. Seeing that Mo Qingyun and Yao Honghu had entered the forbidden formation, the invincible blade let out a beast-like roar and its eyes flashed with a blood-red light. Qingyun, be careful. The invincible blade has lost his mind. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had no intention of dodging or blocking the invincible blade's attack, Yao Honghu looked nervous and hurriedly reminded Mo Qingyun loudly. Not only that, but when Yao Honghu spoke, he was also prepared to stop the invincible blade's attack. Sect Leader, you don't have to do anything. I have my own plans. Seeing Yao Honghu's actions, Mo Qingyun hurriedly stopped him and told him his thoughts. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu hesitated for a moment. In the end, he stopped what he was doing. Bloodline oppression. When Yao Honghu stopped attacking, a shocking bloodline power erupted from Mo Qingyun's body. After this bloodline power appeared, the invincible blade's body immediately stopped moving and fell heavily to the ground. When the invincible blade was pressed to the ground, Yao Honghu, who had the strength of a ninth seal charm overlord, was also forced to retreat. What a powerful bloodline power! Even I was forced to retreat under this bloodline power. Feeling the bloodline power in Mo Qingyun's body, Yao Honghu suddenly looked shocked, as if he did not recognize Mo Qingyun. However, after a short moment of shock, Yao Honghu was ecstatic and said, "Good lad, you hit it so well. It seems that even if I want to defeat you, it won't be easy." In Yao Honghu's opinion, the stronger Mo Qingyun was, the better it would be for the Sky Devil Talisman sect. As the sect master of the Sky Devil Talisman sect, he naturally wouldn't object to the addition of a powerful expert to the sect. Bang! The body of the invincible blade was pressed to the ground, making a loud noise and stirring up a cloud of dust. Following that, a strong sense of pain and struggle emerged on the invincible blade's face. From the looks of it, he seemed to be fighting against the demonic thoughts in his heart. Apart from that, the blood qi emitted from the invincible blade was also gradually converging into its body. That feeling was as if the bloodline power in the invincible blade had encountered an existence that terrified it. What a powerful bloodline power! It can actually make the invincible blade's bloodline power fearful. Seeing the change in the aura of the invincible blade, Yao Honghu was shocked again. He was surprised by Mo Qingyun's bloodline power. As the bloodline power in the invincible blade's body was restrained, the demonic intent emitted from the bloodline also became weaker. As the demonic intent emitted from the bloodline became weaker, the ferocity in the eyes of the invincible blade also weakened a little. There was a faint wisp of clarity. After seeing this, Mo Qingyun's expression couldn't help but be delighted. A faint smile appeared on his face and he said, "The consciousness of the invincible blade has not been completely demonized. There is still a trace of clarity left. As long as he takes a wishful clear evil-repelling elixir within 7 days, it will be fine." Honorable grade elixir, wishful clear evil-repelling elixir? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu's expression couldn't help but change. He said with a bitter expression, "Qingyun, I'm afraid you don't know. This wishful clear evil-repelling elixir is a honorable grade elixir. Only the alchemy venerables in the human path can refine it. The alchemy venerable's status in the human path is higher than the sovereign realm expert. It's not that easy to invite them." Speaking of this, Yao Honghu shook his head and smiled bitterly again. He said with a helpless expression, "Not to mention whether we can invite the alchemy venerables to help. Even if the alchemy venerables are willing to help, it's impossible to refine a cauldron of wishful clear evil-repelling elixir in just 7 days." Seeing Yao Honghu's reaction, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at him and comforted him. "Sect Master, don't worry. There's no need to go through so much trouble. As long as there are the materials to refine the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir, I can refine it." "You can refine it?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu's expression suddenly froze. He thought he had heard wrongly. According to Mo Qingyun's words, could he be an alchemy venerable? "Unfortunately, I happen to be an alchemy venerable." Looking at Yao Honghu's surprised expression, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and asked Yao Honghu, "Sect Master, don't I look like an alchemy venerable?" No, that's not what I meant. You look like very similar, too similar." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu hurriedly shook his head and denied it. He was so excited that he spoke incoherently. He really did not expect that apart from Mo Qingyun's amazing cultivation talent, he actually had an even more amazing identity, an alchemy venerable. He did not expect that his unintentional action actually allowed the heavenly demon talisman sect to recruit an alchemy venerable. This was really an unexpected gain. After calming down the surprise in his heart, Yao Honghu revealed an excited expression and praised Mo Qingyun. Qingyun, the surprises you bring to me are really increasing. I haven't seen you in just 10 years, and you're like a different person. If you have time in the future, you must tell me about your various experiences in the past 10 years. Okay. Mo Qingyun did not reject Yao Honghu's request. He nodded directly and said, Sect Master, now I'm going to suppress the bloodline power in the invincible blade's body. Help me to collect these materials. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he took out a complete piece of animal skin and wrote down the alchemy materials on it. These materials were all materials to refine the good fortune clear evil repelling pill. Okay, I'll go and prepare now. After a while, Yao Honghu took the animal skin from Mo Qingyun and directly left the forbidden formation. The sealed door. After Yao Honghu left the forbidden formation, Mo Qingyun directly cast the sealed door to seal the invincible blade's spiritual soul and bloodline power. Sealing the invincible blade's bloodline and spiritual soul could slow down the erosion of the demonic thoughts in his body. After casting the sealed door, Mo Qingyun did not stop there. Instead, he took out various materials and placed them around the invincible blade's body. After a while, a formation that emitted golden light was formed around the invincible blade. The formation of this array formation that emitted golden light produced golden Sanskrit characters, which emitted a sound wave that reverberated around the beam. Then, these golden Sanskrit characters and the sound wave entered the invincible blade's body and purified the demonic thoughts in the invincible blade's body. I really did not expect the 9 temples to have such a wide range of formations. They even have the great Prajna Thunder Meditation formation. Looking at the golden light formation in front of him, Mo Qingyun revealed a satisfied smile. After muttering to himself, he said, Now, I just have to wait for the sect master to send the alchemy materials and refine a furnace of good fortune clear evil repelling pill. Chapter 1134. In the conference hall of the Mao Fu sect, a shocking piece of news reached the ears of Fang Peng and the others, causing them to be extremely shocked. What? The 4 ultimate sects have been destroyed? Qin Yun did it? Elder Tan, are you joking with us? How is that possible? Yeah, although Qin Yun has the strength of a 9th seal symbol overlord, it shouldn't be that easy for him to destroy the 4 ultimate sects. Fang Peng and the others were in disbelief. They didn't dare believe that this was true. In their hearts, the 4 ultimate sects were like giants that they could only look up to. Who would have thought that the 4 great sects would be destroyed by Mo Qingyun in such a short period of time? This news came too suddenly. Elder Tan was not surprised by everyone's shocked expressions. He said with a calm expression, The universe bag that I gave you earlier contained cultivation materials that Qingyun took from the 4 great sections. So these cultivation resources were all taken from the 4 ultimate sects by Qingyun. No wonder he had so many cultivation resources all of a sudden. That's right. My Qinkuan bag seems to contain quite a few talismans of the 4 ultimate sects. If that's the case, then it can't be wrong. In that case, Qin Yun's true strength has already surpassed that of an ordinary 9th seal symbol overlord. Everyone had a look of understanding when they heard Elder Tan's words. They had accepted the fact that Mo Qingyun had destroyed the 4 ultimate sects. Everyone, what are you all talking about? At this moment, as everyone was talking, 2 hearty voices came from outside the conference hall. Following that, the crowd saw 2 figures appear before them. The newcomers were Lu Feng and Ho Shihua, who had been recuperating a few days ago. Based on their current appearances, their injuries had already completely healed, and their cultivation had even improved a little. So it's Brother Lu and Brother Ho. Looks like your injuries have already healed. Senior Lu, Senior Ho. When Elder Tan saw the arrival of Lu Feng and Luo Yunyang, a faint smile appeared on his face as he greeted them. Haha, our injuries are indeed fine now. This is all thanks to the great profound netherworld soul nourishing pill refined by Qin Yun. Hearing Fong Peng and the others' greetings, Lu Feng and the other man smiled faintly and replied. After greeting Lu Feng and the others, Fong Peng and the others returned to their seats and continued their discussion. By the way, why haven't I seen Qin Yun? After Ho Shihua and the other man sat down, they both had puzzled expressions on their faces as they asked about Mo Qingyun's whereabouts. Qin Yun, give me some cultivation resources and he'll head to the Sky Devil Talisman sect. Seeing Ho Shihua and Elder Tan asking about Mo Qingyun, Elder Tan pointed at the cosmos pouches in everyone's hands and explained Mo Qingyun's whereabouts. So he went to the Sky Devil Talisman sect. Judging by the time, his appointment with sect leader Yao should be coming soon. Hearing Elder Tan's words, Ho Shihua and the other man revealed a look of understanding. With curious expressions they asked, by the way, I heard the disciples in the sect say that the 4 unique sects seem to have been destroyed by some expert. Do you all know about this? Hearing Ho Shihua's words, Elder Tan and the others' expressions turned strange. They did not know how to answer Ho Shihua. Seeing the reaction of Elder Tan and the others, Lu Feng smiled faintly and said, so you guys still don't know. When the 2 of us heard the news, we were also extremely shocked. Hearing Lu Feng's words, Elder Tan and the others' expressions turned even stranger. A bitter smile appeared on their faces. Brother Lu, no, that's not what I meant. After calming down, Elder Tan waved his hand at Lu Feng and the other man and said, Brother Lu, Brother Ho, we already know about the 4 unique sects being destroyed. In fact, the person who destroyed the 4 unique sects was Qin Yun. Pada, pada. After Elder Tan's words, the sound of 2 teacups shattering rang out in the discussion hall. Lu Feng and Ho Shihua were both stunned. Disbelief was plastered on their faces as they sat motionless in their chairs. Evidently, Elder Tan's words at this moment shocked the 2 of them quite a bit. Looking at the stunned Lu Feng and Ho Shihua, Fong Peng's expression turned tense as he softly asked, Elder Lu, Elder Ho, are the 2 of you all right? What did you say? The 4 unique sects were destroyed by Qin Yun? Hearing Fong Peng's question, Lu Feng and Ho Shihua recovered their wits and asked in shock once again. That's right. Elder Tan nodded when he heard this. He pointed at the Qiankuan bags in Fong Peng's and the others' hands and said, the items in these Qiankuan bags were taken by Qin Yun from the 4 unique sects. So Qin Yun destroyed the 4 unique sects. No wonder he was able to gather the materials to refine the Taishan underworld soul nourishing pill in such a short time. Hearing Elder Tan's words, Ho Shihua suddenly showed a look of understanding as he understood where Mo Qin Yun's alchemy materials came from. Following this, the group began to discuss the allocation of resources and rebuilding the weapon talisman sect. Inside the forbidden formation of the Sky Demon Talisman sect. After waiting for 2 hours with Mo Qingyun, Yao Honghu, who had gone to gather the materials, returned to the forbidden formation with a frown on his face. Sect leader, what's wrong? Did you not gather all the materials? Mo Qingyun frowned when he saw Yao Honghu's expression. He hurriedly asked Yao Honghu about it. Yes. Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Yao Honghu nodded solemnly and said, we have found 99% of the materials. The only thing missing is the blood of the Wildlands demonic beasts. More importantly, the Wildlands demonic beasts were very powerful. I'm afraid we won't be able to get it with our current strength. Blood of the Wildlands demonic beasts. Hearing Yao Honghu's words, Mo Qingyun's eyes lit up. He had a plan in mind and said, Sect leader, you don't have to worry. I have a way to get the blood of the Wildlands demonic beast. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, He didn't wait for Yao Honghu to speak and summoned the savage beast from the Soul Palace. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying aura of the wildlands spread out from the savage beast's body. Seeing this, Yao Honghu's expression changed greatly. His eyes widened in shock and he said, "A wildlands demonic beast. A wildlands demonic beast comparable to a ninth seal late-stage demonic beast." This discovery shocked Yao Honghu quite a bit. The way he looked at Emo Qingyun changed. He hadn't expected that Emo Qingyun actually had a savage desolation demon beast with the strength of a ninth seal. After summoning the savage beast, Emo Qingyun didn't hesitate and ordered the savage beast, "Savage beast, release some blood for me. I want to use it to refine a cauldron of pills." "Yes, young lord." Hearing Emo Qingyun's order, the savage beast released some blood and dripped it into the cup in Emo Qingyun's hand. With the savage beast's huge body, releasing some blood didn't affect it much. Chapter 1135. After obtaining the blood from the savage beast, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He took out the sacred beast cauldron and began refining pills. Seeing that Emo Qingyun was refining pills, the savage beast shook its head and stood up. It walked to an empty space at the side and lay down to sleep. As for Yao Honghu, he had a shocked expression as he looked at the savage beast and Emo Qingyun in silence. The scene in front of him had a huge impact on him. He would never have imagined that Emo Qingyun would be the one raising this demonic beast with the desolate era's bloodline. This was because, with the savage beast's arrogant character, unless it was truly subservient to humans, it wouldn't take the initiative to release its blood even if you killed it. "Qingyun, this little fellow, I really can't see through him." Looking at Emo Qingyun, who was refining pills, Yao Honghu's expression became a little complicated. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Next, Yao Honghu and the savage beast guarded Emo Qingyun's side to prevent any strange movements from the invincible blade. When Yao Honghu turned to look at the invincible blade, he realized that there was an additional golden array around the invincible blade. Because of the savage beast's blood and the savage beast, Yao Honghu didn't notice that there was an additional array around the invincible blade. Array! After realizing this, Yao Honghu couldn't help but be shocked. Shock rose in his heart once again. He turned to look at Emo Qingyun and muttered to himself, "Could this array also be set up by Qingyun?" After seeing this array, Yao Honghu's expression became serious as he carefully observed the array. After a round of observation, Yao Honghu's expression immediately changed, revealing shock as he said, This is a level 8 middle-rank Buddhist array formation, the Great Prajna Thunderclap Meditation Array. I didn't expect that Qingyun actually knows such an array formation. No, level 8. Level 8 array. Qingyun is a level 8 array's supremacy. After Yao Honghu muttered to himself, he discovered the key point, and a shocked expression appeared on his face again. Venerated Pill, Venerated Array, 9th Seal Talisman Overlord, and 9th Seal Talisman Overlord level Savage Beast. At this moment, one word after another flashed through Yao Honghu's mind, causing him to become even more unfamiliar with Emo Qingyun. It seems that the things that this little fellow has experienced in these 10 years are not something that I can imagine. Yao Honghu calmed the shock in his heart and looked at Emo Qingyun with a much gentler gaze. He said with gratification, "In the future, under his leadership, our Sky Demon Talisman sect will definitely surpass all the sects in the Immortal Path." Subsequently, Yao Honghu no longer thought about it as he silently stood guard for Emo Qingyun. Time slowly passed. About 5 days later, a rich pill fragrance wafted out from the holy beast cauldron. Success! Smelling the pill fragrance coming from the sacred beast cauldron, Yao Honghu's expression immediately became happy, and his expression became excited and nervous. Under Yao Honghu's gaze, a strange scene formed above the holy beast cauldron. The elixir image appeared. After the elixir image appeared, Emo Qingyun, who was in the midst of refining the elixir, raised his hand and formed a strange handprint. Once the handprint was formed, Mo Qingyun struck the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir in the cauldron, allowing it to merge with the elixir image. After a while, the elixir image merged with the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir and slowly flew into Mo Qingyun's hand. Seeing that the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir was successfully refined, Mo Qingyun sent it into the mouth of the invincible blade, dispelling the evil thoughts in the invincible blade's heart. Ah! As the elixir entered the mouth, the invincible blade let out a painful cry, and his expression revealed a look of struggle. Following that, the aura of the invincible blade began to become chaotic, sometimes violent and bloodthirsty, sometimes calm. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun's expression became solemn. He raised his hand to condense a handprint and struck it into the invincible blade's celestial spirit. As Mo Qingyun's handprint struck the invincible blade's celestial spirit, the invincible blade's expression became much more relaxed. Following that, a wisp of clarity emerged in the eyes of the invincible blade. Seeing the behavior of the invincible blade, Mo Qingyun's expression became solemn. He said to him in a low voice, "Concentrate your mind and refine the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir. I will help you to defeat the evil thoughts in your body." Yes. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the invincible blade did not hesitate at all and began to refine the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir in his body. As the invincible blade continued to refine the wishful clear evil-repelling elixir, the evil thoughts emitted from his body began to become lighter and lighter. After a few hours, the invincible blade's body finally did not have the slightest bit of evil thoughts, and he returned to his normal state. "Thank you, Master, for saving me." Coming out of the state of madness, the invincible blade showed a respectful expression and bowed to Mo Qingyun. "No need to be so polite, get up." Seeing the action of the invincible blade, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand. He lifted the invincible blade who was kneeling on the ground and said, "Now that the 10-year deadline is up, you have fulfilled the original agreement. From now on, you are no longer my servant." Speaking of this, Mo Qingyun showed a grateful look. He patted the shoulder of the invincible blade and said, "In addition, the reason why you ended up like this is also because you took revenge for senior brother Mo. In fact, I owe you a favor. Solving problems for Master is what the invincible blade should do." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the invincible blade humbly bent down and shook his head with an ashamed expression. He said, "Master, you don't know. As my pseudo-massacre bloodline continues to strengthen, the drawbacks of this bloodline become more and more obvious. The evil thoughts produced by the massacre also become stronger and stronger. Even if I don't use the secret technique, I believe that I will enter the state of madness soon." After hearing the words of the invincible blade, Mo Qingyun nodded and agreed with the words of the invincible blade. He said, "It is indeed easy to produce evil thoughts because of the massacre. However, some of the ancient Buddhist cultivation methods have the effect of purifying the soul and erasing the evil thoughts. You can cultivate another Buddhist cultivation method when you are upgrading the power of the bloodline to erase the evil thoughts in your heart." "Thank you, Master, for your reminder. I understand." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the eyes of the invincible blade could not help but light up, as if he had found a cultivation method. Next, Mo Qingyun said a few more words to the invincible blade. Then, he got up and walked out of the forbidden formation. He said, "During this period of time, your mind has been disturbed by the evil thoughts, causing your mind to be exhausted. You can cultivate and heal your mind here first." "Yes." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the invincible blade nodded respectfully and sat down to recover his mind. "Sect leader, let's go." Seeing that the invincible blade sat down and began to recover his exhausted mind, Mo Qingyun said to Yao Honghu, "Okay." Hearing this, Yao Honghu opened the forbidden formation and left with Mo Qingyun. After leaving the forbidden formation, Yao Honghu had a dignified expression. He looked at Emo Qingyun and asked, "Qingyun, the wilderness pageant that I told you about last time will start in half a year. When are you going to go to the massacre path?" Wilderness pageant. Chapter 1136. From the path of immortality to the path of killing, 3 months is enough. Yao Honghu heard Emo Qingyun's reply and did not urge Emo Qingyun to leave immediately. Instead, he changed the topic and said, "Qingyun, I have already considered the matter of removing the seal on the sect that you told me previously. We will hold the grand reopening ceremony in 10 days. Yes, we will have to face it eventually. It's better to come earlier." After hearing Yao Honghu's decision, Emo Qingyun nodded in agreement and asked, "Sect leader, do you know where He Zhilan is now?" He Zhilan? Yao Honghu frowned slightly as he recalled the information about He Zhilan. After pondering for a while, he said, "The He Zhilan you are talking about is the girl from the same sect as you at the 10,000 Talisman Immortal Gathering 10 years ago, right?" "Yes, she is." Emo Qingyun nodded. Before Li Lulin's son, Li Liangchen, was killed, she seemed to be under house arrest in the Dao Talisman sect. "I am not sure where she is now." After Yao Honghu told Emo Qingyun what he knew, his expression turned serious and he said, "If you want to know where she is, I can send some disciples to investigate immediately. I believe there will be news about her soon. There is no need to go through so much trouble. I will personally make a trip to the Dao Talisman sect later." After hearing Yao Honghu's words, Emo Qingyun shook his head and rejected Yao Honghu's good intentions. "That's not right." After knowing Emo Qingyun's thoughts, Yao Honghu immediately objected and said, "Qingyun, the Dao Talisman sect has an extremely deep foundation. Even the Sky Demon Talisman sect cannot be compared to it. You must not enter the Dao Talisman sect rashly." "Sect leader, don't worry. No one in the Dao Talisman sect can hurt me." In response to Yao Honghu's worried words, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and did not take the Dao Talisman sect seriously at all. After Emo Qingyun said this, Yao Honghu's expression became even more serious. He felt that Emo Qingyun was a little too confident. Then, a worried expression appeared on Yao Honghu's face as he continued to persuade Emo Qingyun. However, before Yao Honghu could say anything, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, "Sect leader, if you don't believe me, you can try to exchange a few blows with me." "Exchange of blows with you?" Yao Honghu's expression froze. He was surprised by Emo Qingyun's thoughts. After being stunned for a short while, Yao Honghu's expression became excited as he impatiently said, "All right, then let this old man experience the strength of our heavenly devil talisman sect's #1 genius in history. Of Sect leader, what are you and Qingyun doing?" Along the way, a few elders of the Sky Demon Talisman sect were curious when they saw Yao Honghu and Emo Qingyun's actions. "I want to exchange blows with Qingyun." Yao Honghu looked meaningfully at Emo Qingyun when he heard the elders' question and explained their plan. The surrounding elders were stunned when they heard Yao Honghu's words. They thought that they had heard wrongly. "What? Sect leader, you want to exchange blows with Qingyun? Aren't you bullying Qingyun?" "Qingyun, you must not exchange blows with sect leader. His cultivation was already at the great circle of the 9th seal 1,000 years ago. Furthermore, sect leader has been torturing his opponents every time he has exchanged blows with them. You must not agree to his request." Some of the elders could not bear to see Emo Qingyun fight with Yao Honghu. They whispered to Emo Qingyun to persuade him. At this moment, they could already foresee Emo Qingyun's miserable fate. Ahem. Yao Honghu looked embarrassed when he saw the elders' actions. He coughed a few times. From the looks of it, what the elders had said was true. Those opponents that he had fought with had indeed been badly beaten up by him. If that was the case, then Emo Qingyun's decision to fight him was indeed not a wise one. The elders immediately shut their mouths when they saw Yao Honghu's cough. They were afraid that Yao Honghu would ask them to exchange blows. Yao Honghu smiled faintly when he saw that the elders had shut their mouths. He said to Emo Qingyun, "Qingyun, don't listen to the elders' nonsense. I'll just raise my cultivation to the same level as yours when we exchange blows later." "Haha, it's fine." Emo Qingyun smiled indifferently at Yao Honghu's words. He did not mind at all. "Sect leader, let's go." In Emo Qingyun's opinion, he was only sparring with Yao Honghu to reassure him that he had the ability to come and go as he pleased in Dao Talisman sect. As for Yao Honghu's strength, it was not particularly important to him. He believed that if he used all his trump cards, he would be able to defeat Yao Honghu with lightning speed. Aside from that, Emo Qingyun did this because he wanted to test just how strong he was by fighting with Yao Honghu. Therefore, he naturally could not let go of Yao Honghu, a perfect ninth seal symbol dominator, as a sparring partner. Under Yao Honghu's lead, Emo Qingyun arrived in front of a huge underground palace. The underground palace was extremely large, spanning several tens of thousands of meters in diameter. A powerful ancient formation had been set up around it. The level of this formation seems to have surpassed the scope of a grade 9 formation. After seeing the formation, Emo Qingyun's expression could not help but change. He was secretly alarmed. Since Sky Demon Talisman sect has such a formation, Dao Talisman sect must also have such a formation. This formation is enough to pose a great threat to me. Looks like I have to be careful when heading to Dao Talisman sect. After sizing up the formation outside the underground palace, Missouri Qingyun silently raised a trace of vigilance in his heart. He was more vigilant about heading to Dao Talisman sect. After standing outside the underground palace's battle arena for a moment, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and walked into the underground palace's battle arena. "Qingyun, in that case, I won't be polite." Seeing Emo Qingyun walk into the underground palace, Yao Honghu revealed an impatient expression and immediately attacked Emo Qingyun. Under Yao Honghu's attack, a black rune rapidly condensed and emitted a destructive demonic aura. Soon, the black rune grew rapidly and turned into a huge black demonic shadow. It bombarded Emo Qingyun. A demonic shadow comparable to a late-stage sovereign realm expert. Seeing the huge demonic shadow approaching, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly and his body emitted a strong fighting spirit. Then, Emo Qingyun's figure moved and charged towards the demonic shadow. In a few flashes, Emo Qingyun arrived in front of the demonic shadow and directly punched at it. Under Emo Qingyun's punch, a huge Yuan energy fist condensed and collided with the demonic shadow's fist. Bang bang bang, after the two fists collided, a deafening sound was immediately heard and a terrifying Yuan energy storm was created. At the same time that the Yuan Qi storm was produced, the black rune turned into a demonic shadow and its body collapsed in an instant. It exploded with a punch. The demonic shadow comparable to a late-stage sovereign realm expert was actually not a match for Emo Qingyun's punch. After seeing this scene, Yao Honghu and the others were instantly stunned. They felt that the scene in front of them was unreal. Chapter 1137. Vice Sect Master, Am I Seeing Things? Sect Master's Dark Sky Demon Divine Seal was destroyed by Qin Yun in one punch. Qin Yun is too ruthless. The power of his punch alone is no weaker than a perfected ninth seal talisman overlord. Hehe, I'm afraid Sect Master won't win too easily this time. It's best if he loses once. If Sect Master loses to Qin Yun, let's see if he can find anyone to spar with in the future. Haha, you old fogies are too evil. But that's what I think too. The elders who'd been bullied by Yao Honghu smiled in satisfaction when they saw him lose in one blow. If Yao Honghu was here and heard the words of these elders, he would probably be furious. What a domineering origin power attack. I didn't expect you to cultivate the origin power of the human race as well. No wonder you're so confident. Yao Honghu was pleasantly surprised when he saw Mo Qingyun's performance. He was very satisfied with Mo Qingyun's performance. It was a great blessing for the Sky Demon Talisman sect that such a cultivation prodigy had appeared. In Yao Honghu's opinion, given Mo Qingyun's cultivation talent, no one on the path to immortality would be his match once he reached the perfected ninth seal talisman overlord level. Very good. Next, let me see the full strength of the number 1 genius of the Sky Demon Talisman sect. Yao Honghu praised Mo Qingyun. Then, with an expectant expression, he attacked Mo Qingyun without holding back. 4 symbols demonic beast seals. After Yao Honghu took out 4 talismans with different beast patterns, they turned into 4 figures that were hundreds of meters tall. When the 4 towering figures appeared, they emitted 4 waves of perfected law power and formed 4 imposing law storms. Not only that, but when the 4 law storms were formed, they seemed to be connected to each other. From this, it could be seen that these 4 tall beasts had also mastered a joint attack-type combat skill. Seeing Yao Honghu's move, all the elders outside the underground palace's battle arena revealed indignant expressions. Sect Master is too shameless. He even used the 4 symbols demonic beast seal. This is too much of a bully. I remember that last time, Yao Buchuan, Yao Huishan, and Li Miaoxian, the 3 grand elders, joined forces and failed to break the 4 symbols demonic beast seal. The 4 symbols beast demon seal is the most profound martial art of our Sky Demon Talisman sect. It's said that no one in the 9th seal talisman Lord Realm can break it. In other words, the sect leader is invincible after using the 4 symbols demonic beast seal. Sigh. If that's the case, I hope Qin Yun won't be tortured too badly. Seeing Yao Honghu take out 4 seals, the elders outside the underground palace had completely given up on Mo Qingyun's victory. Compared to the mood of the elders, Yao Honghu was in an extremely good mood. He smiled faintly as he sized up Mo Qingyun. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun was bound to lose in the face of the 4 symbols demonic beasts joint attack. What he needed to do now was to control the 4 symbols demonic beast to fight with Mo Qingyun and force Mo Qingyun to show his true strength. 4 perfected 9th seal talisman Lord Realm Devil Beast. With these 4 guys as my sparring partners, I should be able to test his true strength. Looking at the 4 behemoths closing in on him, Mo Qingyun showed an expression of anticipation and went up to meet them head-on. Scorching sun. Soon, a huge fire shield appeared around Mo Qingyun's body. After the fire shield appeared, the temperature in the underground palace's arena instantly reached 1,000,000 degrees. Under the corrosion of this terrifying temperature, even Yao Honghu, with his cultivation, felt that it was a little unbearable. At the same time, the elders standing outside the underground palace's arena retreated in shock. What a terrifying power of the law of fire! It can actually penetrate this ancient formation and cause us some damage. If an ordinary 9th seal talisman lord were to encounter such a terrifying power of the law of fire, he would probably be burned to ashes. It seems that we have all underestimated Mo Qingyun. It won't be easy for the sect master to defeat him. That's right. Mo Qingyun's true strength may have already surpassed ours. This kid is really a monster. Was he really only a 6th seal talisman master 10 years ago? After witnessing Mo Qingyun's terrifying strength, the elders were shocked and felt a strong blow to their hearts. At this moment, while the elders were feeling depressed, the 4 demonic beasts arrived in front of Mo Qingyun and threw a tyrannical punch at Mo Qingyun. In order to test the defensive power of the scorching sun shield, Mo Qingyun did not dodge or block the attacks of the 4 demonic beasts. Instead, he allowed their attacks to hit the shield. Bang 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 bang, 4 loud bangs were heard in succession. The scorching sun shield around Mo Qingyun's body was constantly shaking under the attacks of the 4 demonic beasts. Even so, the shield was not directly destroyed. Instead, it forcefully withstood the attacks of the 4 demonic beasts. He withstood it. The raging flame shield had actually forcefully resisted the full-force attacks of 4 Ninth Seal Talisman Overlord. The defensive power of the raging flame shield was simply too frightening. In this way, with Mo Qingyun's terrifying defensive power, it would be difficult for someone at the Sovereign Realm to injure him. He withstood it. This kid. Yao Honghu and the elders trembled when they saw Mo Qingyun's performance. Their eyes were filled with horror. At this moment, they truly realized how terrifying Mo Qingyun's strength was. The strength that Mo Qingyun displayed was enough to crush any Ninth Seal Talisman Lord. However, was this Mo Qingyun's full strength? While Yao Honghu and the others were puzzled, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. He said excitedly, as expected of a cultivation technique cultivated by an immortal. Just the first form of the Celestial Fury technique, at the greater mastery level, is able to withstand the attacks of 4 Ninth Seal Talisman Lord. If I cultivate the first form to the greater mastery level, won't I be able to withstand the attacks of an immortal? Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun revealed an excited expression. He was looking forward to the full power of the Celestial Fury technique. Since the power of the Scorching Sun shield has been tested, it's time to test the other aspects of the technique. Mo Qingyun calmed himself down. He no longer hesitated and attacked the 4 devil beasts, engaging them in a fierce battle. As he continued to fight with the 4 demonic beasts, Mo Qingyun quickly gained a clear understanding of his own strength. With his current strength, if he didn't use any trump cards or offensive martial arts, just his physical strength alone was enough to fight against a Sovereign Realm expert in the perfection stage. If he used any martial arts, he should be able to easily kill an ordinary Sovereign Realm expert. Of course, to deal with someone like Yao Honghu, he still had to put in a lot of effort and use his powerful trump cards. Chapter 1138. With my current combat strength, I should be able to kill anyone who hasn't surpassed the Sovereign Realm. After the battle with the 4 devil beasts, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of his own strength. With a clear understanding of his own strength, Mo Qingyun didn't want to waste any more time. He smiled faintly and said, "In that case, it's time to end the battle." Golden Snake Flashing Halberd. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he took out the immortal burning halberd and quickly swung it at Yao Honghu. After Mo Qingyun swung his halberd, a golden light flashed on his body. Then, he disappeared from where he stood. After a while, when Mo Qingyun's figure reappeared, he was holding the immortal burning halberd against Yao Honghu's neck. At this moment, if Mo Qingyun's halberd moved an inch further, Yao Honghu's neck would have been pierced. Seeing this, Yao Honghu couldn't help but turn pale. He felt like he was about to die. Fortunately, Mo Qingyun was only exchanging pointers with him and not really fighting to the death. Otherwise, at that moment, he would have become a dead man. Sect Master, you lost. With the immortal burning halberd against Yao Honghu's neck, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and pulled the halberd back. I lost. Looking at the halberd that was only inches away from his neck, Yao Honghu shook his head with a wry smile and said, I originally thought that with your cultivation talent, you would need at least 10 years to become a top existence in the Immortal Road. Now it seems that we were wrong. Yao Honghu couldn't be blamed for underestimating Mo Qingyun's strength. The main reason was that Mo Qingyun's progress was too fast. Mo Qingyun only smiled faintly at Yao Honghu's words. He didn't take it to heart and asked, Sect Master, do you have any objections to me going to the Tao Talisman sect? Since even I am no match for you, with your current strength, it shouldn't be a problem for you to be careful in the Tao Talisman sect. Since he was aware of Mo Qingyun's true strength, Yao Honghu naturally had no objections to Emo Qingyun heading to the Dao Talisman sect. At this moment, after Yao Honghu finished speaking, his expression suddenly became serious. Then, Emo Qingyun saw Yao Honghu's right hand shake as he took out a mask that resembled human skin. This is the 10,000 change mask left behind by the ancient 10,000 change gate. It can change into anyone's appearance according to the will of the user. Yao Honghu took out the human skin mask and explained its uses. This myriad transformation mask can only be used 5 times. I've already used it 4 times, so I can still use it one last time. I'm giving it to you now. I hope it will be of some help to you when you enter the Dao Talisman sect. Thank you, Sect Master. Emo Qingyun immediately thanked Yao Honghu and took the face of myriad transformations from Yao Honghu. With the help of the face of myriad transformations, Emo Qingyun's entry into the Dao Talisman sect would be much smoother. Alright, let's go out. After handing the face of myriad transformations to Emo Qingyun, Yao Honghu smiled faintly at Emo Qingyun. He didn't take his defeat to heart at all. Perhaps in his opinion, the stronger Emo Qingyun was, the better it would be for the Sky Demon Talisman sect. Whether Emo Qingyun went to the Wasteland continent in the future or continued to stay in the Sky Demon Talisman sect, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Okay. Seeing Yao Honghu walking out of the underground palace arena, Emo Qingyun didn't stay any longer and followed Yao Honghu out of the underground palace arena. Sect Master. Seeing Yao Honghu walking out of the underground palace arena, the elders outside the underground palace arena looked at him with strange expressions. Just now, the situation of Emo Qingyun and Yao Honghu's battle, all the elders saw it very clearly. In the face of Emo Qingyun's attack, Yao Honghu was almost powerless to resist Emo Qingyun's halberd. For Yao Honghu, this was the first time this had happened since he became the sect master. Yao Honghu naturally knew what the elders were thinking. He smiled slyly and said, "I'm sorry to disappoint you. This time, I've suffered a crushing defeat." Hearing Yao Honghu's straightforward admission of defeat, the elders' expressions changed and they couldn't come to their senses for a moment. This wasn't Yao Honghu's style of doing things. Sect Master, you can't blame yourself for being weak. The main thing is that Qingyun's strength is too abnormal. That's right, Qingyun's strength is too abnormal. This isn't the strength of an ordinary person. Sect Master, as ordinary people, we can't compete with an abnormal monster. After a short moment of shock, the elders put on serious expressions and comforted Yao Honghu righteously. Emo Qingyun, who had just walked out of the underground palace's battle arena, heard the elders' words and was stunned. He smiled bitterly. These guys are too direct. Seeing Emo Qingyun walk out, the elders smiled awkwardly and threw an apologetic look at Emo Qingyun. Seeing this, Emo Qingyun understood the elders' feelings and couldn't be bothered to argue with them. At this moment, Yao Honghu, who was at the side, was silent for a moment. However, he sighed and said, "This time, after losing to Qingyun, this sect master understood one thing. That is, this sect master's strength has regressed. It seems that in the future, I have to cultivate diligently. Elders, I will have to trouble you in the future." Sect Master, you. After hearing Yao Honghu's words, the elders' expressions changed and they all turned pale with fright. What a joke. Every time they fought with Yao Honghu, they would be tortured badly by Yao Honghu. If they were to be Yao Honghu's sparring partners for a long time, they would be toyed to death. This was not something they wanted to see. Sect Master, when I saw your battle with Qingyun just now, I suddenly had an epiphany. I'm afraid I'll have to go into seclusion for some time. Sect Master, I suddenly realized that my cultivation is about to break through to the 9th seal late stage symbol Overlord. I won't accompany you for now. Sect Master, my wife is about to give birth. I'll take my leave too. In a short while, all the elders in front of Emo Qingyun and Emo Qingyun had run away. After seeing this scene, Yao Honghu couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at Emo Qingyun awkwardly. Seeing Yao Honghu's expression, Emo Qingyun was also stunned and misunderstood Yao Honghu's meaning. He said, "Sect Master, since the elders are busy, why don't I accompany you in your cultivation?" "No, there's no need." When he heard Emo Qingyun's words, Yao Honghu's expression immediately changed, and he hurriedly rejected Emo Qingyun's good intentions. Qingyun, I also had some epiphanies in my battle with you just now, so I won't accompany you." After speaking, Yao Honghu did not wait for Emo Qingyun to speak and directly ran off. When he saw Yao Honghu's actions, Emo Qingyun could not help but smile bitterly and shake his head. He secretly sighed. Birds of a feather flock together. Sect Master and the elders are really alike. Since everything is settled, it's time to head to Dao Symbol Sect. Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and muttered to himself. He did not linger and prepared to set off for Dao Symbol Sect. Chapter 1139. The Dao Talisman Sect was located not far from the Sky Demon Talisman Sect. Emo Qingyun rode Savage Beast at full speed. 3 days later, he arrived at a city at the foot of the Dao Talisman Sect's mountain, the Ancestor Talisman City. It was said that the founder of the Dao Talisman Sect was born in the Ancestor Talisman City. In order to commemorate the founder of the Dao Talisman Sect, the younger generation of the Dao Talisman Sect built a city here. Emo Qingyun briefly sized up the Ancestor Talisman City before he kept Savage Beast into the Soul Palace. He then lifted his leg and walked into the Talisman Clan City. As the birthplace of the founder of the Dao Talisman Sect, the Ancestor Talisman City was naturally highly valued by the Dao Talisman Sect. They had set up a branch here specifically to maintain the security of the Dao Talisman Sect. As the Dao Talisman Sect had set up a branch in the Ancestor Talisman City, Emo Qingyun could see the disciples of the Dao Talisman Sect everywhere in the city. The auction of the Ancestor Pavilion has begun. It is said that there are many treasures being auctioned this time around. While Emo Qingyun was walking in the city, there was a commotion in front of him. Many excited voices could be heard. When Emo Qingyun saw the actions of these people, he frowned slightly and asked curiously, "Ancestor Pavilion? I can go and take a look." After Emo Qingyun muttered to himself, he no longer hesitated and followed the crowd to the Ancestor Pavilion. After a while, Emo Qingyun arrived in front of an ancient palace. This was the Ancestor Pavilion that everyone was talking about. The Ancestor Pavilion's construction was very unique. It was divided into 2 parts, the inner hall and the outer hall. The inner hall was no different from an ordinary auction house. The outer hall was a viewing platform. Moreover, one could freely enter the outer hall from the outside of the Ancestor Pavilion to observe the auction held by the Ancestor Pavilion. After sizing up the Ancestor Pavilion, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and lifted his leg to walk into the inner hall of the Ancestor Pavilion. "Mister, may I know if you would like to bid or purchase an item?" Upon seeing Emo Qingyun enter the inner hall of the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion, an ordinary shop assistant walked up to Emo Qingyun and asked. Hearing the shop assistant's question, Emo Qingyun hesitated for a moment, then said in a deep voice, "I want to sell some items. I wonder if you are buying them here?" Previously, when Emo Qingyun broke through to the Sovereign Realm, all the Pill Palace origin crystals on him had been used up. Now that he wanted to bid for something, he needed to exchange for some soul essence stones, so that he wouldn't be able to buy the things he needed. Emo Qingyun hadn't considered directly snatching the auction item yet. After all, he was about to enter the Dao Talisman Sect, so there was no need to lose the big picture for a small gain. "Sir, please come with me." After knowing the purpose of Emo Qingyun's visit, the disciple of the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion made an inviting gesture to Emo Qingyun. Then, the disciple of the symbol ancestor pavilion led Mo Qingyun to the place where they were purchasing items. After a while, Mo Qingyun walked into a secluded room and came in front of a gray-haired old man. "Old Ma, this mister wants to sell some items." After bringing Mo Qingyun to the old man, the disciple of the symbol ancestor pavilion reported to the old man, then turned around and left the room. "Mister, please take a seat." The gray-haired old man sized up Mo Qingyun, then made an inviting gesture to Mo Qingyun and asked, "May I know what you would like to sell? Can you take it out for me to take a look?" "Sure." Hearing the gray-haired old man's words, Mo Qingyun nodded his head indifferently, then took out some items that he didn't need. Then, some talismans, materials to refine talismans, and various weapons used by talisman masters appeared in front of the gray-haired old man. When he saw the items that Mo Qingyun took out, the gray-haired old man's expression suddenly changed, and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. He could see that the talismans were of high grades, and all of them had reached the 8th seal level. As for the materials to refine the talismans, they were all materials to refine the 8th seal talisman. Every one of them was extremely rare and precious. Lastly, the weapons used by the talisman masters were even more valuable. Even an ordinary 8th seal talisman master might not be able to own one of them. Gulp. The gray-haired old man swallowed his saliva, calmed down the shock in his heart, and said respectfully to Mo Qingyun, "Mister, please wait for a moment. I will help you to count the items and calculate their value." "No problem." In response to the gray-haired old man's words, Mo Qingyun nodded his head indifferently, indicating for the gray-haired old man to count the items. At that moment, when the gray-haired old man was counting the items, a group of luxuriously dressed young men walked into the room. "That's the Dark Valley Dragon lizard blood, and it's as big as a fist. Senior brother, look, that's the 8th seal talisman weapon, the brocade dragon sword Buddha dust. And the 8th seal talisman, the sky-breaking sword sea talisman. Senior brother, if we have these items, we can go and kill the 9th seal talisman overlord demonic beast, the blue fire heavenly azure ape." When the young men saw the items that Mo Qingyun took out, they were all shocked and excited. Hearing the words of the people around him, the young man who led the group walked towards Mo Qingyun with a sneer and said, "Kid, did you auction these items? I will give you 300 million origin spirit stones, and you will sell all these items to me. How about it, Tao Talisman Sect's disciple?" When he saw the clothes of the young men, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly, and he immediately recognized their origins. He smiled meaningfully and said, "Sorry, I have already sold these items to the Talisman Ancestor Pavilion." "Oh, is that so?" When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, the young man smiled coldly and said to the gray-haired old man, "Ma Qianli, call Huo Weirong out." When the young man finished speaking, he took out a jade pendant and handed it to the gray-haired old man. When he saw the jade pendant in the young man's hand, the gray-haired old man was shocked. He immediately put on a respectful expression and said, "Yes, I will call Pavilion Master Hua." When the gray-haired old man finished speaking, he bowed apologetically to Mo Qingyun and walked out of the room. After a while, a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 40s walked into the room with the gray-haired old man. "I am Huo Weirong. Greetings to the descendant of the founder." When the pavilion master of the Talisman Ancestor Pavilion walked into the room, he put on a respectful expression and quickly bowed to the young man. "Pavilion Master Hua, there is no need for such formalities." When he saw Huo Weirong's actions, the young man smiled and waved his hand. He asked, "Pavilion Master Hua, I want to buy this young man's items. You won't object, right?" "No, I won't." When he heard the young man's question, Huo Weirong quickly shook his head and expressed his attitude. "Descendant of the founder?" When Mo Qingyun heard the conversation between the young man and the gray-haired old man, he frowned slightly. He was a little surprised by the young man's identity. After knowing that the young man was beside him, Mo Qingyun decisively kept the items, stood up and walked out. In his opinion, with the young man around, he would not be able to sell the items. When the young man saw Mo Qingyun's actions, he revealed a sinister smile and said coldly to Mo Qingyun, "Kid, I think you should know my identity. In the Talisman Ancestor City, if you don't sell the items to me, you won't even get a single Primordial Spirit Stone." The young man's words clearly carried a threatening tone. "Haha, is that so? I don't think so." When he heard the young man's question, Mo Qingyun smiled nonchalantly. He did not take the young man's words to heart. Chapter 1140. Senior Brother Chong Wei, what should we do now? When they saw Mo Qingyun walking out of the room, the disciples of Dao Charm Sect were anxious as they asked the descendant of the founder of Dao Charm Sect, "Let's follow him." A sinister smile appeared on Chong Wei's face when he heard the crowd's question. He looked as though he had Mo Qingyun under his control as he replied, "I, Chong Wei, have never failed to capture anyone in Symbol Ancestor City." Then, Chong Wei and the rest stopped hesitating and followed Mo Qingyun out of the room. Huo Weirong and Ma Qianli sighed when they saw Chong Wei and the rest leaving the room. They sympathized with Mo Qingyun. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun would most likely die for encountering Tsun Takashi and the others. Humph! Tsun Takashi and the others had just caught up when Mo Qingyun noticed their actions. A faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth as he muttered to himself, "Tsun Takashi has an extraordinary status in the Dao Talisman Sect. If I enter the Dao Talisman Sect with his identity, I'm sure things will be much smoother." When this thought appeared in Mo Qingyun's mind, he had a plan and knew what to do next. After coming out of the room, Mo Qingyun did not stop and rushed out of Ancestor Symbol City. Trying to escape? Chong Wei and the rest sneered when they saw Mo Qingyun's actions. Murderous intent flashed across their eyes. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun leaving Ancestor Symbol City was no different from courting death. Soon, Mo Qingyun arrived outside Ancestor Symbol City with Chong Wei and the rest following behind him. "Kid, stop running. You can't run away." Chong Wei lost his patience and said impatiently when he saw that they were far away from Ancestor Symbol City. When Mo Qingyun heard Chong Wei's words, he stopped and looked at Chong Wei and the rest with a faint smile. "Are you so sure that I'm running away?" Glancing at Tsun Takashi and the others before him, Mo Qingyun revealed a mocking smile, as if he was looking at a group of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Tsun Takashi and the others were stunned. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's performance. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun's strength was not bad as he had reached the 8th Seal Talisman Venerable level. However, with Mo Qingyun's strength alone, he would still be slaughtered by more than 10 8th Seal Talisman Venerables. Therefore, Mo Qingyun should be panicking when facing these people. "Kid, I'm afraid you still don't know, right? We are all core disciples of the Dao Talisman Sect, and we all have the strength to fight those above our level. In other words, the people standing before you are all experts comparable to 9th Seal Talisman Overlords. As for our senior brother Chong Wei, he once fought against an intermediate Talisman Overlord with 9 seals and fought to a draw." Tsun Takashi and the others sneered at Mo Qingyun's confident words, thinking that Mo Qingyun was pretending to be calm. Seeing Tsun Takashi and the others' performance, Mo Qingyun did not waste time talking nonsense with them and directly blasted a palm toward them. Then, a terrifying force shrouded Tsun Takashi and the others, separating them from each other. After realizing this, Tsun Takashi and the others' expressions changed drastically. They were somewhat surprised by Mo Qingyun's means. This is the cultivation domain of a human path cultivator. This kid actually cultivates both martial arts and talisman. Humph. Even if this kid cultivates both martial arts and talisman, he can't stop us with his puny domain. Everyone, don't hold back. Let's attack the domain together. We'll definitely be able to break this domain. Soon Takashi and the others fell into Mo Qingyun's domain. Each of them had a disdainful expression as they frantically attacked the domain. At this moment, while everyone was attacking Mo Qingyun's domain, Mo Qingyun came in front of Tsun Takashi. Mo Qingyun's current actions were not to kill Tsun Takashi and the others. Instead, he planned to subdue Tsun Takashi and enter Dao Talisman's sect with his identity. Mo Qingyun was certain that with Tsun Takashi's identity in Dao Talisman's sect, once Tsun Takashi was killed by him, the people in Dao Talisman's sect would definitely discover it. Kid, do you think you can fight me just because you've trapped my junior brothers with your domain? Tsun Takashi said disdainfully as he looked at Mo Qingyun with a sinister smile. Then watch carefully. Hearing Tsun Takashi's arrogant words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and reached out to grab him. Then, an earth-shattering power erupted from Mo Qingyun's palm. You're a talisman overlord with 9 seals? Tsun Takashi trembled when he sensed the force from Mo Qingyun's palm. His eyes were filled with intense fear. However, before Tsun Takashi could finish his sentence, Mo Qingyun grabbed him by the neck and forced him to kneel in front of Mo Qingyun. What are you doing? Tsun Takashi's heart chilled to the extreme when he saw Mo Qingyun's methods. A chill ran down his spine. He could sense that the true strength of the young man before him was probably even stronger than the old ancestor of Dao Talisman sect. In front of such an expert, he had no ability to resist at all and had completely lost the right to control his life and death. Search him. Mo Qingyun ignored Tsun Takashi's words and reached out to grab Tsun Takashi's head. Then, Mo Qingyun sent a wave of soul power into Tsun Takashi's mind domineeringly. When the soul power entered Tsun Takashi's mind, it searched Tsun Takashi's sea of consciousness and obtained his memories. Under Mo Qingyun's domineering soul search, Tsun Takashi's eyes slowly turned blank and he looked like an idiot. The grandson of Dao Talisman sect's old ancestor, Chang Yuhai, and the personal disciple of sect leader Li Lulin. You really have an extraordinary status in Dao Talisman sect. After robbing Tsun Takashi's memories, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of Tsun Takashi's identity. What did you do to me just now? Mo Qingyun withdrew his soul power from Tsun Takashi's sea of consciousness. Tsun Takashi immediately regained consciousness and looked at Mo Qingyun in horror. He threatened, Kid, I'm the grandson of Dao Talisman sect's old ancestor and the personal disciple of sect leader Li Lulin. If you dare to, is that so? Mo Qingyun did not take Tsun Takashi's threat to heart at all. He took out a human skin mask casually. Then, Mo Qingyun put the human skin mask on his face and slowly changed his appearance. A moment later, Mo Qingyun's appearance was exactly the same as Tsun Takashi's. Be it his facial features or his charm, everything was the same. Upon seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Tsun Takashi was stunned and his face turned pale. Looking at the pale Tsun Takashi, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and asked, Now, do you still think that you're the grandson of Dao Talisman sect's old ancestor? Are you the personal disciple of Dao Talisman sect's sect leader? Tsun Takashi was speechless and did not know how to refute Mo Qingyun. A terrifying thought formed in his mind. From today onwards, this terrifying young man before him would replace him as Dao Talisman sect's Tsun Takashi. At the thought of this, Tsun Takashi felt a chill run down his spine and an unprecedented fear rose in his heart. Chapter 1141. After throwing Tsun Takashi into the 5-directional pagoda, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and lifted his hand to remove the domain. After Mo Qingyun removed the domain, the disciples of Dao Talisman sect appeared in front of Mo Qingyun one after another. Senior brother Tsun Takashi, where is that kid? After coming out of the domain, the disciples of Tao Talisman sect walked up to Emo Qingyun and did not suspect Emo Qingyun's identity. Seeing everyone's reaction, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and revealed a satisfied expression. He thought to himself, "This mask of myriad transformations is truly miraculous. Even Tsun Takashi and the others don't suspect me at all." Emo Qingyun sighed in his heart. He then looked indignant and said angrily, "That kid has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. When I was not paying attention just now, he actually used a secret technique to escape." Escaped? Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the disciples of Tao Talisman sect also looked indignant. In their opinion, every single one of the treasures on Emo Qingyun's body was priceless. Now that Emo Qingyun had escaped just like that, it was really a pity. Senior brother Tsun Takashi, that kid must have exhausted himself greatly after using that secret technique. He definitely can't have escaped far. That's right. If we chase after him now, we might be able to catch up to him. That kid has a lot of treasures on him. It would be a pity if we let him escape just like that. Thinking about the treasures Emo Qingyun had on him, the disciples of Tao Talisman sect were indignant and tried to persuade Emo Qingyun. Seeing everyone's reaction, Emo Qingyun revealed a solemn expression and said to everyone in front of him, "That kid's methods are very strange. In order to prevent him from setting up an ambush, we'll spare him this time." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the disciples of Tao Talisman sect nodded in agreement, although they were indignant. How could a person who could carry so many treasures be a simple person? Perhaps he really did have a backup plan. Therefore, it was better for them to be careful. It would be good if they could obtain treasures, but it would be bad if they lost their lives because of it. Alright, the auction at the Ancestral Symbol Pavilion is about to begin. I'll head over and take a look. Seeing that the matter had been settled, Emo Qingyun was not willing to stay any longer. He prepared to go and take a look at the auction at the Ancestral Symbol Pavilion. After Emo Qingyun finished speaking, he lifted his feet and walked towards the front. He was prepared to take a look at the auction at the Ancestral Symbol Pavilion. When the members of the Tao Talisman sect saw Emo Qingyun walking away, they didn't stay any longer and followed Emo Qingyun back to Talisman Ancestor City. Very soon, Emo Qingyun and the rest arrived at the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion and met Huowirong, who was waiting for them. Congratulations to young Master Chong on your fruitful return. Huowirong was also a smooth and slick person. When he saw Emo Qingyun walk into the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion, he smiled and flattered him. When he saw Huowirong's actions, Emo Qingyun was displeased. He snorted coldly and said, "Humph! Pavilion Master Hua, are you mocking me?" As soon as Emo Qingyun finished speaking, he ignored Huowirong and walked straight into the auction hall. I don't dare." When he saw Emo Qingyun's displeased expression, Huowirong hurriedly shook his head. His face was filled with confusion. When he saw Huowirong's confused expression, one of the Tao Talisman sect's disciples behind Emo Qingyun said to Huowirong, "Pavilion Master Hua, you don't know. When we were chasing that kid earlier on, we didn't expect him to be so crafty. He actually managed to escape." Escaped? When he heard the disciples' words, Huowirong was shocked. He didn't expect such an outcome. At this moment, he finally understood why Emo Qingyun was unhappy with his words. His bootlicking had hit the nail on the head. When the Tao Talisman sect's disciples saw Huowirong's bitter smile, they shook their heads helplessly. They ignored Huowirong and followed Emo Qingyun into the auction. When Emo Qingyun and the rest walked into the auction was already in full swing. After scanning the interior of the auction, Emo Qingyun walked to the front of the auction with an arrogant expression and sat down. When they saw Emo Qingyun and the rest approaching, everyone in the auction was in awe. They quickly made way for Emo Qingyun and the rest. It seemed like the Tao Talisman sect's disciples had a superior status in Symbol Ancestor City. After Emo Qingyun sat down, he asked Emo Zai to take Chang Wei's Qiankuan bag and check the items in it. Chang Wei was indeed a young lord of the Dao Talisman sect. The wealth of his family had far exceeded Emo Qingyun's expectations. Excluding the talismans and various materials in his Qiankuan bag, the number of origin spirit stones alone had reached the level of 3 trillion. Even the sect leaders of the 4 unique sects couldn't compare to him with such a large number of origin spirit stones. With more than 3 trillion origin soul stones, I can bid without worry. When Emo Qingyun saw the items in Chang Wei's Qiankuan bag, he smiled with satisfaction and lifted his head to look at the auction stage. At this moment, the auctioneer took out another item after the previous auction item was sold. It was an exquisite box that emitted a strong fluctuation of yuan power. It seemed like it was an item used by a martial artist. Then, under Emo Qingyun's full attention, the auctioneer opened the box. Stones that were surrounded by spiritual energy were placed neatly in the box. Immortal stones. When Emo Qingyun saw the items in the box, he was shocked and his eyes lit up. He needed immortal stones the most. He needed immortal stones for his cultivation and controlling the spiritual puppet to fight. If he could get these immortal stones, it would solve his urgent need. Everyone, the next auction item is a type of cultivation spiritual stone from the wild continent, immortal stones. After opening the box, the auctioneer revealed a brilliant smile and introduced the celestial stones to everyone. He continued, even in the wasteland continent, celestial stones are an extremely precious cultivation resource. Moreover, they are the common currency of the wasteland continent. If everyone has the chance to enter the wasteland continent, celestial stones will be a must-have for you. Then, the auctioneer praised the immortal stones as if they were extremely precious items. However, the people below clearly didn't buy it. They all had impatient expressions. Old man Qing, stop spouting nonsense. Immortal stones are of no use to us. We are not cultivators who cultivate origin energy. That's right. Is it so easy to go to the wild continent? Just going through the killing path is already dangerous. Things like immortal stones should be left for those rich fools to collect. We have no interest in them. Looking at the attitude of these people, they didn't seem to be interested in immortal stones. None of them had any intention of bidding. Haha, since that's the case, I won't waste any more time. Chapter 1142. I bid 100 billion origin spirit stones. As soon as the auctioneer announced the bidding price, Emo Qingyun raised his hand without hesitation and announced his own bidding price. To Emo Qingyun, even if he did not buy anything else in this auction, he would make a profit as long as he could get these immortal stones. Emo Qingyun's words attracted everyone's attention. Each and every one of them looked at him like he was an idiot. Emo Qingyun was slightly stunned when he saw the crowd's reaction. He did not expect the crowd to react so strongly. However, when the crowd saw that the person who made the bid was the genius of Dao Talisman sect, Chang Wei, they immediately looked at him with admiration. The way they looked at Emo Qingyun changed drastically as they were filled with flattery. I did not expect young Master Chang Wei to be interested in immortal stones. I have collected some immortal stones before. I can give them to young Master Chang Wei later. I also have a few thousand immortal stones here. If young Master Chang Wei doesn't mind, you can take them later. Young Master Chang Wei is collecting immortal stones to prepare for entering the wild continent. If that's the case, I will fulfill your wish. In an instant, everyone in the auction hall smiled faintly as they tried to curry favor with Emo Qingyun. Emo Qingyun was surprised by the crowd's actions. He did not expect this at all. He did not expect that he would receive tens of thousands of immortal stones out of thin air. Everyone was trying to curry favor with Emo Qingyun, and they did not need immortal stones. Therefore, after Emo Qingyun announced the bid, no one else made another bid. This allowed Mo Qingyun to obtain 67,000 immortal stones with 100 billion origin spirit stones. Such a gain was beyond Mo Qingyun's expectations. He thought that he would have to go through an intense competition to obtain these immortal stones. He did not expect it to be so easy. Senior Brother Chang Wei, do you really need immortal stones? Senior Brother Chang Wei, are you really preparing to enter the wild continent? Nonsense. With Senior Brother Chang Wei's talent, he'll definitely be able to clear the path of slaughter in the next savage meet. While Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised, the Tao Talisman sect disciples behind him were looking at him in astonishment. In response to everyone's questions, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and nodded. With a heroic expression, he said, "For me, this path of immortality is still too small. I want to go outside and take a look." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, everyone revealed an envious and admiring expression. They yearned for the world outside the path of immortality. However, they knew very well that with their talent, they couldn't leave the path of immortality. According to those who had returned from the path of slaughter, if one wanted to reach the desolate continent through the path of slaughter, they would have to kill their way through the endless horde of demonic beasts. However, the strength of those demonic beasts had reached the sovereign realm and sovereign realm. They weren't something that ordinary people could contend against. Every time the Savage Grand opened, many geniuses from the 7 great ancient roads would enter. However, only 1 or 2 people would be able to pass through the path of slaughter. The rest of the people were all left in the path of slaughter. More importantly, even if they passed through the path of slaughter, so what? After entering the desolate continent, they would become the lowest existence and would have to start climbing up again. If one wanted to rise up from the desolate continent, it would undoubtedly be thousands of times more difficult. It wasn't something that ordinary people could do. As a result, many people lost interest in the path of slaughter. Only true geniuses would attempt it. Therefore, those who dared to brave the path of slaughter would be respected and worshipped by everyone. These people were all people with extraordinary talent. Next, Mo Qingyun chatted with the Tao Talisman sect disciples while auctioning the items. The later items in the auction were not particularly valuable. They were either some ancient talismans or some powerful talisman soldiers. These items weren't particularly useful to Mo Qingyun, so he didn't bid for them. After about a few hours, when the auctioneer auctioned off the previous item and took out another one, Mo Qingyun's expression instantly became serious. A broken longbow appeared in the auctioneer's hand. The bowstring of the longbow was completely rotten. Not only that, but even the body of the longbow was rusty and its original appearance couldn't be seen clearly. If someone who didn't know the value of the longbow saw it, they would definitely think it was a piece of scrap metal. However, when Mo Qingyun saw it, he immediately realized that it was extraordinary. This was because Mo Qingyun sensed the same aura from the longbow as the immortal incineration battle halberd. It was a feeling that made one's heart palpitate. This was an immortal longbow. If I bid for this immortal longbow, it would be a good choice whether to repair it or let the immortal incineration battle halberd devour it. Looking at the worn-out longbow in the auctioneer's hand, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but clench his fist. He silently made a decision. I must bid for this longbow. Just as Mo Qingyun made his decision, the auctioneer's expression turned serious. He pointed at the worn-out longbow and said, "This longbow was obtained by a 9-seal talisman overlord in an ancient secret realm." The auctioneer paused for a moment before continuing, "This longbow looks broken, but we once bombarded it with a 9-seal talisman soldier. Under the bombardment of the 9-seal talisman soldier, it wasn't damaged at all. Therefore, we concluded that this longbow's grade may have surpassed that of a 9-seal talisman soldier and reached the legendary immortal weapon grade." Immortal weapon. Hearing the auctioneer's words, the auction house immediately fell silent. Everyone stopped breathing. Immortal weapons were weapons used by immortals. Even the most ordinary of them possessed unparalleled power. After a short moment of silence, the auction house burst into an uproar. Everyone revealed excited expressions. Old Man Ching, stop bragging. A piece of scrap metal was actually bragged to be an immortal weapon by you. I'll say it again. Don't dilly-dally. Just directly announce the auction price. That's right. Whether it's an immortal weapon or not, we'll know once we bid for it. At this moment, everyone revealed impatient expressions as they urged the auctioneer. Seeing the crowd's reaction, the auctioneer didn't dare to delay any longer. With a serious expression, he said, "Ancient Era's immortal bow. The starting bid is 500 billion origin soul stones. Each bid must not be less than 100 billion origin soul stones." I bid 500 billion origin soul stones. I bid 700 billion origin soul stones. I bid 800 billion. This ancient era's immortal bow is mine. Regardless of whether it's an ancient era's immortal bow or not, for it to be able to withstand the bombardment of a 9-seal talisman soldier, it must be extraordinary. I bid 900 billion. In an instant, the crowd began to madly bid. It was as if they were determined to obtain the ancient era's immortal bow. Seeing the crowd's reaction, Mo Qingyun's brows became serious. A sense of anxiousness emerged in his heart. Chapter 1143. Senior Brother Chang Wei, do you really want this broken bow? A disciple from the Tao Talisman sect standing beside Mo Qingyun asked him with a surprised expression. What's the matter? Mo Qingyun had some impression of this disciple. His name seemed to be Li Jichuan. Li Jichuan was very puzzled. Based on his understanding of Chang Wei should not be interested in such strange things. More importantly, based on Mo Qingyun's current behavior, he seemed to be planning to obtain the broken bow through the auction. This was not Chang Wei's character. Junior brother Li Jichuan, do you have any good ideas? Upon hearing Li Jichuan's question, Mo Qingyun looked curious and asked him. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, Li Jichuan should have some good ideas since he asked him this question. After hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Li Jichuan sneered and suggested to Mo Qingyun, Senior brother Chang Wei, Huoweirong provoked you just now. I can go to him now and tell him that you're giving him a chance to make up for his mistake. Let him lend you some origin spirit stones first. This way you can bid for this broken bow, right? That's a good idea. Upon hearing Li Jichuan's words, Mo Qingyun's eyes lit up and he quickly nodded in agreement. Seeing that Mo Qingyun agreed to his suggestion, Li Jichuan sneered again and said, Senior brother Chang Wei, with your status in Tao Talisman sect, Huoweirong won't dare to do anything even if you don't return the origin spirit stones. This can be considered a punishment for his nonsense. Junior brother, good suggestion. Upon hearing Li Jichuan's suggestion, Mo Qingyun sneered and gave Li Jichuan a thumbs up. He was still thinking about how to punish Huoweirong. He did not expect Li Jichuan to remind him. In that case, I'll call Huoweirong over now. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had accepted his suggestion, Li Jichuan did not delay any longer and immediately went to call Huoweirong over. A moment later, Huoweirong arrived in front of Mo Qingyun with Li Jichuan leading the way. Seeing Huoweirong's arrival, Mo Qingyun revealed an unhappy expression and said coldly to Huoweirong, Pavilion Master Hua, I'm sure you already know why I called you here, right? I understand. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Huoweirong's face revealed a nervous expression. He hurriedly nodded at Mo Qingyun in response. Although he was the pavilion master of the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion, he could not afford to offend the little ancestor before him. It couldn't be helped. Soon Takashi's background was too great. Not only was he the descendant of the Tao Talisman School's founder, but he was also the grandson of the Tao Talisman School's patriarch, the personal disciple of the Tao Talisman School's patriarch, and one of the top 3 geniuses in the Tao Talisman School. Any one of these identities could easily crush him to death. They were not people that Huirong could afford to offend. Seeing Huirong's unnatural expression, Emoqingyun's expression became unhappy again, and he asked, "Pavilion Master Hua, judging from your expression, you seem to be worried about me borrowing the primordial spirit stone?" "No. I don't dare." Hearing Emoqingyun's words, Huirong was so frightened that his legs turned to jelly. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead and he said, "Young Master Chang is not only the descendant of the founder, but also the grandson of the ancestor and the personal disciple of the sect leader. If I don't trust you, who else can I trust?" Because of what he had said earlier, he had already made Emoqingyun very unhappy. If he made Emoqingyun unhappy again, it would be the end of him as the pavilion master. That was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that if his position as the pavilion master was abolished, he would have to face Emoqingyun's revenge. Huirong shuddered at the mere thought of the consequences. "In that case, I won't stand on ceremony." Seeing Huirong's performance, Emoqingyun smiled brightly and nodded in satisfaction. "I bid 2 trillion primordial spirit stones." Seeing that Huirong was willing to borrow the primordial spirit stones, Emoqingyun did not delay any longer and directly announced his bid. Seeing that Emoqingyun had joined the bidding, some people who were about to continue bidding stopped bidding. In their opinion, it was not worth offending the successor of the Tao Talisman sect for a broken bow of unknown origin. Of course, not everyone thought so. Some people did not buy Emoqingyun's account and continued to compete with Emoqingyun. Then, Emoqingyun and these people madly competed for the broken immortal bow. Under the continuous bidding of Emoqingyun and the others, the price of the broken immortal bow rose rapidly. Looking at the rapidly rising price, Huirong's forehead began to sweat and his expression began to tremble. Originally, he thought that Emoqingyun borrowed the primordial spirit stones from him to bid for some ordinary items and would not use too many primordial spirit stones. He really did not expect that Emoqingyun would borrow the primordial spirit stones from him to bid for this broken immortal bow. He was not afraid that Emoqingyun would not return it, but it was not easy for him to mobilize so many primordial spirit stones at once. Emoqingyun did not care about Huirong's thought. He was now enjoying spending the primordial spirit stones. For the first time, Emoqingyun found that spending other people's money was such a satisfying thing. Especially when you can see the other person's distressed expression when you spend other people's money. This feeling was really satisfying. As for Li Zichuan and the others, when they saw Huirong's distressed expression, they all revealed gloating smiles. They were all people who feared that the world would not be chaotic. They liked to build their happiness on other people's pain very much. Soon, under the crazy bidding of Emoqingyun and the others, the price of the broken immortal bow broke through 10 trillion primordial spirit stones. When the price of the broken immortal bow broke through 10 trillion primordial spirit stones, the number of people bidding also decreased. Only 1 or 2 people were left to challenge Emoqingyun. 15 trillion. Seeing that these guys still did not give up, Emoqingyun shouted angrily. His face darkened as he said, "This broken immortal bow is mine. If anyone dares to make things difficult for me, then Tao Talisman sect will not let them go." As soon as Emoqingyun said this, the auction house quieted down and no one continued to compete. They knew that Emoqingyun was really angry. If they continued to compete, they would arouse the hatred of Emoqingyun. It was unwise to make Emoqingyun bear a grudge for a broken immortal bow of unknown origin. Seeing that no one continued to bid, Huirong's expression suddenly relaxed and his heart that had been hanging in the air was put at ease. Although 15 trillion primordial spirit stones was not a small number, it was still within his range of tolerance. He still had the ability to bear it. As no one continued to bid, the broken immortal bow was finally obtained by Emoqingyun as he wished. As the broken immortal bow was auctioned off, the auction also came to an end. Everyone left the auction house one after another. When Emo Qingyun left the auction house, those who had promised to give him primordial spirit stones did not break their promise. They all took out primordial spirit stones and gave them to him. Emo Qingyun naturally accepted the crowd's actions and simply exchanged some pleasantries with them. After a while, the number of primordial spirit stones on Emo Qingyun's body exceeded 200,000. Looking at the primordial spirit stones on him and the broken immortal bow that he had just obtained, Emo Qingyun could not help but sigh in his heart. This auction is really worth the trip. Chapter 1144. 200,000 Immortal Stones. Seeing that the number of immortal stones on him had exceeded the 200,000 mark, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, "With these immortal stones, I won't have to worry about running out of immortal stones when I control the soul puppet in battle." Emo Qingyun muttered to himself. Then, he left the auction house with a heart full of joy. Coming to this auction was really worth it. Congratulations to young Master Chang for obtaining the immortal bow. When Emo Qingyun left the auction house, Huirong smiled flatteringly as he followed behind Emo Qingyun. If you carefully observed Huirong's expression, you could clearly see that there was a trace of worry on his face. It seemed like he was still a little worried about the 15 trillion origin spirit stones that Emo Qingyun had borrowed. Seeing Huirong's reaction, Emo Qingyun's expression turned cold as he asked, "Pavilion Master Hua, are you trying to collect the debt from me?" "No, I'm not." Seeing that his thoughts had been exposed by Emo Qingyun, Huirong hurriedly shook his head and denied it. His expression was filled with guilt. Seeing Huirong's expression, Emo Qingyun smiled disdainfully as he felt even more disgusted with Huirong. This person was too sly and cunning. Soon, Emo Qingyun arrived at the entrance of the Symbol Ancestor Court. He stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Huirong. "Pavilion Master Hua, before I leave, I'd like to remind you that it's better to have some principles. Otherwise, you might end up causing trouble in the future and still be unaware of it." After Emo Qingyun finished speaking, he ignored Huirong and left him to reflect on his actions. In Emo Qingyun's opinion, if Huirong had offended a bad-tempered person with his previous actions, he might have been killed on the spot. In this world, there was often no need for a reason to kill someone. A moment of joy and anger was enough. After walking out of the Symbol Ancestor Court, Emo Qingyun immediately flew into the sky and returned to the Tao Talisman sect with Li Jichuan and the rest. The Tao Talisman Gate was very close to the Ancestor Symbol City. Emo Qingyun merely flew for 15 minutes before he arrived at the Tao Talisman Gate. "Fellow junior brothers, I'm going into seclusion to study that immortal bow. I'll return to my residence first." After arriving at the Tao Talisman sect, Emo Qingyun could not wait any longer and directly separated from Li Jichuan and the others. "Farewell, senior brother." Seeing Emo Qingyun turn and leave, Li Jichuan and the others bowed respectfully to Emo Qingyun. After separating from Li Jichuan and the others, Emo Qingyun followed Tsun Takashi's memories and quickly arrived at her residence. As the crown prince of the Tao Talisman sect, Tsun Takashi's residence was indeed extraordinary. His entire residence looked as luxurious as a palace. "Welcome back, senior brother." When Emo Qingyun walked into the mansion, some of the guards bowed respectfully to Emo Qingyun. These servants were wearing the uniform of the Tao Talisman sect. They should be outer disciples of the Tao Talisman sect. Emo Qingyun nodded coldly in response to their respectful behavior and walked directly into the mansion. At that moment, when Emo Qingyun walked into the mansion, a middle-aged man with an 8th seal talisman venerate cultivation walked up to Emo Qingyun and said, "Young Master Tsun Takashi, Miss Wang Yuesher is here again. She has been waiting for you in the backyard for 3 days." Wang Yuesher? Upon hearing that, Mo Qingyun narrowed his eyes and recalled the information about Wang Yuesher in his mind. After pondering for a while, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of Wang Yuesher. Wang Yuesher was a female disciple that Tsun Takashi had taken a fancy to recently. She was also a core disciple of the Tao Talisman sect. She had a very good cultivation talent and had an 8th seal talisman venerate cultivation at a young age. Moreover, Wang Yuesher was valued by a supreme elder and had become the supreme elder's last disciple. Since Wang Yuesher's status in the Tao Talisman sect was not low, Tsun Takashi could not use forceful means to take her down. However, what made Tsun Takashi angry was that Wang Yuesher treated his passionate pursuit with such a cold attitude. She did not give him any face at all. Upon seeing Wang Yuesher's attitude, Tsun Takashi began to use some underhanded means to frame Wang Yuesher's elder brother, Wang Wenquan, and make him violate some of the sect rules of the Tao Talisman sect. As the chief disciple of the Tao Talisman sect's law enforcement hall, Tsun Takashi held the power to kill Wang Wenquan. Subsequently, he used this to force Wang Yuesher to submit. Unexpectedly, Wang Yuesher was extremely loyal and did not immediately submit to Tsun Takashi. Instead, she showed an attitude that she would rather die than submit. Tsun Takashi was not in a hurry and would torture Wang Wenquan whenever he was free to force Wang Yuesher to submit to him bit by bit. Tsun Takashi is really shameless to achieve his goal. Upon recalling Tsun Takashi's deeds, Mo Qingyun's disgust for him immediately intensified. I understand. You may leave first. After understanding the whole story, Mo Qingyun waved his hand at the middle-aged man and walked to the backyard. After a while, Mo Qingyun saw a woman with exquisite features and a cold aura in the backyard. She should be Wang Yuesher. Upon seeing Mo Qingyun slowly approaching, Wang Yuesher, who was sitting in the backyard's pavilion, immediately stood up and walked toward Mo Qingyun. She looked at Mo Qingyun coldly and said, "Tsun Takashi, I agree to your request. Release my elder brother immediately." Agree to my request? Upon hearing Wang Yuesher's words, Mo Qingyun could not help but be stunned. He immediately understood what Wang Yuesher meant. She had submitted to Tsun Takashi and agreed to be raped by him. Upon thinking of this, Mo Qingyun shook his head and lamented in his heart. He did not expect to encounter such a situation after impersonating Tsun Takashi and entering the Tao Talisman sect. It really caught him off guard. However, Mo Qingyun was not Tsun Takashi. He was not interested in Wang Yuesher. Most importantly, he still had to fight the Tao Talisman sect. Therefore, he did not want to get involved with the disciples of the Tao Talisman sect. Mo Qingyun remained silent for a moment to calm his emotions. He waved his hand at Wang Yuesher and said, "You may leave. As for your elder brother, I will order someone to release him later." "You may leave. I will order someone to release your elder brother later." Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Yuesher was stunned. She did not expect Mo Qingyun to give such an answer. This was completely different from what she had imagined. According to normal circumstances, when Tsun Takashi heard her answer, shouldn't he reveal a wretched smile and bring her into his room to do it? Could it be that he intends to kill my elder brother out of anger because I was unwilling to give myself to him for a long time? After a brief moment of bewilderment, Wang Yuesher suddenly opened her eyes wide, and she glared at Mo Qingyun with embarrassment and anger. She said, "Chang? Tsun Takashi, I've already agreed to your request. What exactly do you want?" "What do I want?" Mo Qingyun was stunned when he saw Wang Yuesher's actions, and then he smiled bitterly and helplessly. He said, "Miss, I've already said that I'll take care of your elder brother. Could it be that you want me to?" Chapter 1145. Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, he had to admit that Wang Yuesher's temperament and figure were not bad. Wang Yuesher instinctively took a step back when she saw Mo Qingyun's gaze. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Emo Qingyun warily. Ha ha! Emo Qingyun instinctively laughed when he saw Wang Yuesher's action. He waved his hand at Wang Yuesher again and said, "Don't stand here. Otherwise, I won't be responsible if I eat you up later." Wang Yuesher's face immediately turned red when she heard Emo Qingyun say that again. She still did not dare to leave the backyard immediately. This was because she was not sure if Emo Qingyun was serious when he said he would release Wang Yuesher or not. Wang Yuesher looked aggrieved when she was indecisive and anxious. A faint glow appeared at the corner of her eyes. She had clearly agreed to Chang Wei's request, but Chang Wei was playing tricks again. He deliberately humiliated and took liberties with her. Chang Wei was really infuriating. More importantly, she could not do anything to Chang Wei. Her brother's life was still in his hands. Emo Qingyun could not help but feel a little agitated when he saw Wang Yuesher's reddened eyes. What was she trying to do? Was it so difficult for him to be a good person? Sigh. Emo Qingyun sighed with a helpless expression. He spread his hands at Wang Yuesher and said, "Don't cry. I'll ask someone to release your brother. Will that do?" Emo Qingyun did not wait for Wang Yuesher to respond. He shouted to the middle-aged man outside the courtyard, "Steward Huang, pass on my order now. Ask them to release Wang Wenquan." "Young Master Chang Wei, are you really going to release Wang Wenquan?" The middle-aged man, who was an 8-seal talisman Supremacy, asked with a surprised expression when he heard Emo Qingyun's order. In his opinion, Chang Wei should not release Wang Wenquan before he took Wang Yuesher down. "That's right." In response to Steward Huang's surprised reaction, Emo Qingyun nodded with a serious expression. Seeing this, Steward Huang did not dare to delay any longer and immediately went to pass on Emo Qingyun's instructions. When Steward Huang walked out of the backyard, Emo Qingyun turned to look at Wang Yuesher and said in a deep voice, "Now, do you believe that I'm going to let your brother go?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Wang Yuesher couldn't help but feel confused. She couldn't believe that this was true. Was this still Tsun Takashi? Wasn't Tsun Takashi capturing her brother and putting him in jail to force her to give herself up? Now that she had agreed to give herself to him, not only did Tsun Takashi not do anything to her, he even decided to let her brother go. This was too abnormal. What happened? At this moment, Wang Yuesher's mind was in a complete mess. She simply could not understand why. After pondering for a while, Wang Yuesher still couldn't believe Emo Qingyun. She felt that Emo Qingyun must have a conspiracy behind his actions. Therefore, even though she saw that Emo Qingyun was going to let her brother go, she still refused to leave. Seeing that Wang Yuesher still refused to leave, Emo Qingyun sighed and shook his head. He ignored her and turned to walk to Tsun Takashi's room. "Tsun Takashi, stop right there." Seeing that Emo Qingyun was about to leave, Wang Yuesher immediately panicked. She was even more certain that Emo Qingyun's actions were a trap. Hearing Wang Yuesher's words, Emo Qingyun stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Wang Yuesher. He asked, "Is there anything else?" Facing Emo Qingyun's gaze, Wang Yuesher felt guilty. She stammered for a moment before saying, "Before I see my brother, you can't leave this place." At this moment, Wang Yuesher's tone was no longer cold and unyielding like before. She sounded like a spoiled little girl. Emo Qingyun felt helpless about Wang Yuesher's actions. This girl was actually starting to pester him endlessly. Steward Huang was a thorough person. After releasing Wang Wenquan, he actually brought him to Emo Qingyun. "Brother!" Seeing that Wang Wenquan had arrived at the backyard, Wang Yuesher was immediately overjoyed. She quickly walked toward Wang Wenquan. Seeing that Wang Yuesher was running toward Wang Wenquan, Emo Qingyun's expression relaxed. He sighed inwardly that the matter was finally resolved. "Yuesher, did he do something to you?" Seeing that Emo Qingyun had let him go, Wang Wenquan instinctively revealed a look of hatred. He glared at Emo Qingyun and asked Wang Yuesher. No. Wang Yuesher shook her head with a confused and puzzled expression. She couldn't understand why Emo Qingyun would do such a thing. Glancing at Wang Yuesher and Wang Wenquan, Emo Qingyun revealed an impatient expression. He waved his hand at Wang Yuesher and Wang Wenquan and said, "All right, your brother has already appeared in front of you. You can leave now. You can leave now." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Wang Yuesher was instantly enraged. She glared at Emo Qingyun with hidden bitterness. Was she so detestable now? Wasn't Tsun Takashi sticky candy when he saw her previously? Why was Tsun Takashi so impatient after not seeing her for a few days? He couldn't wait to chase her away. Could it be that she was no longer attractive to Tsun Takashi? Women were sometimes like this. When you put your face on her, she would think that you had ulterior motive. However, when you ignored her, she would complain that you didn't have good taste. Her thoughts were truly unpredictable. Seeing that Wang Yuesher and Wang Wenquan still refused to leave, Emo Qingyun pretended to be displeased. His face darkened as he said angrily, "What? Do you really want me to kill your big brother and then give you a good beating before you are willing to leave?" Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Wang Yuesher was instantly enraged. She gently bit her white teeth. "Sister, let's go. There's nothing to say to this kind of person." Hearing Emo Qingyun's filthy words, Wang Wenquan was instantly enraged. He pulled Wang Yuesher and walked out of the backyard. Under Wang Wenquan's tug, Wang Yuesher took light steps and slowly walked out of the backyard. "Young Master Tsun Takashi, are we really going to let them go just like that?" Seeing Wang Yuesher and Wang Wenquan leave, Steward Huang asked Emo Qingyun with a puzzled expression. When Steward Huang spoke, Wang Yuesher, who had walked to the backyard's door, stopped and looked at Emo Qingyun. She said, "Tsun Takashi, at least you have some conscience." After Wang Yuesher finished speaking, her pretty face turned red. She immediately turned and walked out of the backyard. "Tsun Takashi, at least you have some conscience. Is this considered a compliment?" Hearing Wang Yuesher's words, Emo Qingyun couldn't help but smile bitterly. He turned around and walked into Tsun Takashi's room. He didn't want to think about Wang Yuesher anymore. "Young Master Tsun Takashi, you are indeed skillful." Seeing Emo Qingyun's back as he walked away, Steward Huang's expression suddenly changed. He said with admiration, "Miss Wang Yuesher's attitude towards young Master Tsun Takashi has obviously changed greatly. Young Master Tsun Takashi's move of retreating in order to advance is really ingenious." Chapter 1146. When he arrived at Chang Wei's room, Emo Qingyun did not waste any more time and entered the Five-Direction Pagoda in a flash. After entering the Five-Direction Pagoda, Emo Qingyun took out the broken divine bow and began to study it carefully. "I wonder what is the origin of this broken divine bow?" After taking out the broken divine bow, Emo Qingyun unleashed his soul power and began to investigate the broken divine bow. After a round of investigation, it was just as the auctioneer of the Symbol Ancestor Pavilion had said. The broken divine bow was extremely ordinary and there was no spiritual energy fluctuation at all. After obtaining such a result, Emo Qingyun did not believe in heresy. He cut his finger and dripped a drop of blood onto the divine bow. Buzz! As soon as Emo Qingyun's blood dripped onto the divine bow flashed with a golden light and let out a low, trembling sound. At the same time, an obscure and powerful aura flashed across the divine bow. "There's a reaction." After discovering this, Emo Qingyun's face lit up with joy and excitement. Seeing such a reaction from the divine bow, Emo Qingyun was certain that the divine bow's origin was definitely not ordinary. Then, Emo Qingyun did not think too much about it. He cut his finger again and continued to drip his blood onto the divine bow. As Emo Qingyun's blood was continuously absorbed by the divine bow, The aura emitted from the divine bow became stronger and stronger. It's so comfortable. I did not expect to drink the blood of the Absolute beginning after 1,000,000 years. After an unknown period of time, an excited voice came from the divine bow. It seemed to be enjoying the taste of Mo Qingyun's blood. When Mo Qingyun heard this, his expression immediately froze and he looked at the divine bow in front of him with a tense expression. The divine bow's artifact spirit was still alive. Crack, crack, crack. When Mo Qingyun was looking at the divine bow, the rust on the divine bow began to crack and fall off rapidly. Soon, a purple ancient longbow appeared in front of Mo Qingyun. God Shooter Bow. As the rust on the divine bow fell off, the ancient words on the divine bow entered Mo Qingyun's line of sight. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun could not help but be overjoyed. He was even more certain that the divine bow was extraordinary. Little guy, although you let me taste the absolute beginning's blood of creation, you are still not qualified for me to recognize you as my master. When Mo Qingyun was looking at Mo Qingyun's God Shooter Bow, the divine bow's voice once again, how about this? To thank you for letting me taste the blood of absolute blood of creation, I will help you resolve 3 dangers when you're in danger. After the God Shooter Bow finished speaking, the light on its body slowly receded, and it returned to the appearance of an ordinary longbow. There were no longer any fluctuations of spiritual energy. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun revealed a curious expression and hurriedly asked the God Shooter Bow, Senior, may I know the origin of this God Shooter Bow? What grade of divine artifact is it? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the divine bow glowed faintly and replied to Mo Qingyun, Little guy, with your current cultivation, you are not qualified to ask about the divine bow. How about this? When your cultivation reaches the golden immortal realm, I will tell you about it. Golden immortal realm? What kind of realm is that? Mo Qingyun frowned slightly when he heard that. He was looking forward to the golden immortal stage that the God Shooter Bow mentioned. Mo Qingyun did not know what kind of existence a golden immortal was, but it was definitely an extremely powerful immortal. Mo Qingyun clenched his fists and secretly swore in his heart, I, Mo Qingyun, will definitely reach the immortal realm in this lifetime. Mo Qingyun silently swore in his heart. He began to study the divine bow again, but it was to no avail. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun revealed a helpless expression and could only put away the God Shooter Bow. After putting away the God Shooter Bow, Mo Qingyun no longer stayed in the 5-directional pagoda and returned to his room. After exiting the 5-directional towers, Mo Qingyun opened the door and walked out of Tsun Takashi's room. His main purpose in coming to the Tao Talisman sect was to rescue He Zhilan. Naturally, he could not waste too much time. After leaving Chang Wei's room, Mo Qingyun found Steward Huang and asked, Steward Huang, have you heard of a female disciple called He Zhilan? He Zhilan? Steward Huang pondered as he tried to recall the information about He Zhilan. Very quickly, housekeeper Huang's eyes brightened as he revealed an expression of understanding. He said to Mo Qingyun, Young master, the Miss He Zhilan that you mentioned should be the one that young master Li Liangchen has taken a fancy to, right? As Steward Huang spoke, he thought to himself, so young master Chang Wei has his eyes on He Zhilan. No wonder he was not interested in Wang Yuesher. That's right. Seeing that Steward Huang had guessed He Zhilan's identity, Mo Qingyun did not hide it and nodded in affirmation. Seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, Steward Huang's expression turned grave as he said, Young Master Chang Wei, it's not that I want to be a busybody, but I advise you to stay away from He Zhilan. Why? Mo Qingyun was puzzled. Seeing the puzzled expression on Mo Qingyun's face, Steward Huang's expression became even more serious as he whispered, Because of the death of the young sect master, the sect master's hatred towards He Zhilan has reached the extreme. In order to take revenge on He Zhilan for causing the death of the young sect master, The sect master has already given the order to choose a date to marry Hejilan. He wants Hejilan to become a tool for him to vent his lust from now on. He wants Hejilan to live in eternal torture. What? Li Lulin wants to marry Hejilan? Hearing Steward Huang's words, Mo Qingyun was shocked. He was surprised by this news. He really did not expect that Li Lulin would use such a vicious method to take revenge on Hejilan. Thinking that Li Lulin wanted to turn Hejilan into a tool to vent his lust, Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold as his body emitted a strong killing intent. Sensing Mo Qingyun's killing intent, Steward Huang could not help but shiver. He hurriedly advised Mo Qingyun, "Young Master Chang Wei, she's just an ordinary woman. You must not do anything rash because of her. I feel that Miss Wang Yuesher is more outstanding than Hejilan." "And I understand." Hearing Steward Huang's explanation, Mo Qingyun's expression calmed down. He nodded and asked, "Tell me, where is Hejilan being held? I'm very curious. Just what kind of woman is she to be able to cause the Order Master and young Order Master to take an interest in her?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Steward Huang's expression relaxed as he told Mo Qingyun where Hejilan was locked up. At the same time, Steward Huang sighed in his heart. This Hejilan was really a femme fatale. It was not enough that she had already killed Li Liangchen and Mo Qing. Now, even Chang Wei was involved. Liangchen Manor? After knowing where Hejilan was locked up, Mo Qingyun did not want to delay any longer. He immediately got up and headed towards Liangchen Manor. Liangchen Manor was not far from Chang Wei's residence. Mo Qingyun only walked for a moment before he arrived at the door of Liangchen Manor. "It's here." Chapter 1147. After Mo Qingyun left Sun Takashi's residence, the guards showed curious expressions and surrounded Steward Huang. "Brother Huang, I heard that Miss Wang Yuesher came to his door and young Master Changwei didn't take her down. Is that true? Also, the people outside are saying that young Master Changwei's lower body seems to have a problem. Brother Huang, you're the closest person to young Master Changwei. You should know very well, right?" The guards came to Steward Huang's side with curious gazes, waiting for Steward Huang to clear their doubts. "Shut up. If you don't want to die, don't talk about young Master Changwei in the future." Hearing the guards' questions, Steward Huang pretended to be displeased and reprimanded them sternly. He continued, "Young Master Changwei's private matters aren't something you can easily speculate about." Yes. Brother Huang, you're right. We were rude just now. Brother Huang, you have great foresight. Why don't you tell us about it? That's right. Brother Huang, we've followed you for many years. Why don't you satisfy our curiosity? Looking at the displeased Steward Huang, the guards took out some items and secretly stuffed them into Steward Huang's hands. "Since that's the case, I'll satisfy your curiosity." Seeing the guards' actions, Steward Huang showed a satisfied expression and said with a faint smile, "Do you think that young Master Changwei's foresight is as short-sighted as yours? The reason why young Master Changwei didn't take Wang Yuesher was because he wanted her to come to his door willingly." Come to his door willingly? Didn't Miss Wang Yuesher come to his residence today to offer her body willingly? That's right. Didn't Wang Yuesher come to his door willingly today? Why did young Master Changwei let her go? So troublesome. Isn't it the same thing after all? Why waste so much effort? After hearing Steward Huang's words, the guards were puzzled. They didn't understand what Steward Huang meant. This is why all of you are guards and why Master Tsun Takashi is a hero. Seeing the reaction of the guards, Steward Huang revealed a profound expression. He kept them in suspense and said, "Think about it. Is it more comfortable for a little beauty to lie on the bed like a mummy, or is it more comfortable for her to work with you? Of course it's because she's more comfortable cooperating with me." Hearing Steward Huang's question, the guards did not even think about it and answered without hesitation. So that's how it is. Young Master Chang Wei wants to capture Wang Yuesher's heart, and then, as soon as the guards said that, they were enlightened. They understood the meaning of Steward Huang's words and sighed. Young Master Chang Wei is indeed young Master Chang Wei. His considerations are much more long-term than ours. After that, everyone revealed looks of admiration and continued to talk about Emo Qingyun. At the Liangchen mansion. Sky-covering sun-severing immortal formation. Standing in front of the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun frowned. He was surprised that the Liangchen mansion had such a formation. The sky-covering sun-severing immortal formation was a very peculiar formation. Under its isolation, even the soul power of an immortal would not be able to sense the situation inside the formation. Seeing the sky-covering sun-severing immortal formation in the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun frowned and thought to himself, with the sky-covering sun-severing immortal formation here, it's not advisable to rashly enter the Liangchen mansion. Let's see if I can enter using Chang Wei's identity. As soon as this thought appeared in Emo Qingyun's mind, he did not want to waste any more time and immediately walked towards the entrance of the Liangchen mansion. Junior brother, please wait. No one is allowed to enter the Liangchen mansion without the sect master's instructions. Junior brother, please return. When Emo Qingyun approached the entrance of the Liangchen mansion, 2 disciples of the Dao Talisman sect standing guard in front of the mansion blocked Emo Qingyun with cold expressions. As the 2 of them spoke, their bodies emitted a sharp aura. They were both talisman venerables at the peak of the 8 Seal realm. Seeing their actions, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, Senior brothers, junior brother Li Liangchen and I are as close as brothers. I would like to enter the mansion to pay my respects to him. I hope that the 2 of you can make an exception. Junior brother Chang Wei, this is an order from the sect master himself. I hope that you will not make things difficult for the 2 of us. After hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the 2 disciples revealed an awkward expression and explained to Emo Qingyun. Then, they said, if junior brother Chang Wei really wants to pay his respects to junior brother Li Liangchen, please ask for the sect master's instructions. At that time, the 2 of us will let you in. Thank you for the reminder, senior brother. I will go now. After hearing their words, Emo Qingyun bowed and left the Liangchen mansion. Seeing that Emo Qingyun had left the Liangchen mansion, the 2 disciples no longer paid any attention to Emo Qingyun and continued to guard the entrance of the Liangchen mansion. Li Lulin's guard of senior sister Jilan is really tight. He actually sent 2 8 Seal realm experts. After walking to the side of the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun frowned slightly and his body gradually faded. He smiled faintly and said, since I can't use Chang Wei's identity to enter, I can only use the hidden door to enter. Just 2 8 Seal talisman venerables can't stop me. After using the hidden door to hide his figure, Emo Qingyun once again walked towards the Liangchen mansion. The teleportation gate. Once again arriving at the entrance of the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun directly used the teleportation gate to pass through the sky and sun immortal severing formation. After passing through the sky and sun immortal severing formation and entering the interior of the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun clearly saw the scene inside the Liangchen mansion. After glancing at the interior of the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun released his soul power to search for He Jilan's whereabouts in the Liangchen mansion. After searching for a while, Emo Qingyun revealed a surprised expression and secretly said, Senior sister Jilan, she's not in the Liangchen mansion? Could it be that Li Lulin has imprisoned her somewhere else? Senior sister Jilan is not in the Liangchen mansion. It will be troublesome to find her in the Dao Talisman sect. Seeing that He Jilan was not in the Liangchen mansion, Emo Qingyun pursed his lips and gently gritted his teeth. It seems that it will take some effort to find senior sister Jilan. Seeing that He Jilin was not in the Liangshan mansion, Mo Qingyun left the Liangshan mansion and turned to return to Chang Wei's residence. After a while, when Mo Qingyun arrived at Chang Wei's residence, their entrance was full of onlookers. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly and quickly walked into the mansion. "Young Master Chang Wei, you're back." Seeing that Mo Qingyun had returned to the mansion, Steward Huang and the others immediately showed joy and quickly surrounded Mo Qingyun. What happened? Seeing that Steward Huang had walked in front of him, Mo Qingyun showed an unhappy expression and asked Steward Huang and the others. Although he was not the real Chang Wei, he could not tolerate someone coming to his mansion to cause trouble. Chapter 1148. Chang Wei, you're finally back. Just as Mo Qingyun finished his sentence, a cold voice came from the crowd in front of him. Following that, Mo Qing saw a tall and burly young man walk up to him with an air of arrogance. He had some impression of this young man. His name was Xia Yi and he was also a genius disciple of Tao Talisman sect. He was slightly more senior than Chang Wei. "Xia Yi, if you don't want to die, take your men and get out of my residence immediately." Mo Qingyun glanced at Xia Yi and his expression turned cold. A murderous aura exuded from his body. Under the erosion of Mo Qingyun's killing intent, other than Xia Yi, everyone else trembled. Their expressions were filled with intense fear. I didn't expect you to have improved so much in just a short time." Sensing Mo Qingyun's murderous aura, Xia Yi was bewildered. He was a little surprised by Mo Qingyun's murderous aura. Of course, with Xia Yi's intermediate ninth seal cultivation, he was only a little surprised by Mo Qingyun's murderous aura. After a short moment of surprise, Xia Yi's expression darkened. He pointed at Mo Qingyun and said, "Chang Wei, I heard that you've been harassing Wang Yuesher while I was in seclusion. Don't you know that Wang Yuesher is the woman that I, Xia Yi, have appointed? So it's because of Wang Yuesher." Hearing Xia Yi's words, Mo Qingyun understood Xia Yi's intention and asked nonchalantly, "So what? If you're not happy, feel free to fight me. You're really arrogant. It seems like you've improved recently." Seeing Mo Qingyun's attitude, Xia Yi's expression darkened. He said coldly, "Chang Wei, don't say that I didn't give face to Ancestor Yu Hai and the sect leader. If you admit that your lower body is crippled now, I won't hold it against you." It had to be said that Xia Yi's request was a little too much. If Mo Qingyun admitted to it, he wouldn't be able to stay in the Tao Talisman sect anymore. However, if Mo Qingyun refused to admit it, he would have to fight Xia Yi. From Xia Yi's point of view, Mo Qingyun's apparent late-stage 8th seal cultivation level would only result in Mo Qingyun's defeat. After all, Xia Yi wasn't an ordinary person. He was also a genius disciple of the Tao Talisman sect and had the strength to fight those above his level. Therefore, Xia Yi's true strength could not be determined based on his superficial cultivation. At this moment, everyone was looking at Mo Qingyun, waiting for Mo Qingyun's response. Mo Qingyun glanced at Xia Yi with disdain and impatience. He raised his head and said arrogantly, "Cut the crap. Just tell me the time and place. When the time comes, I'll fight you to the death. If you don't dare, then get lost. When the time comes, I'll fight you to the death. If you don't dare, then get lost." As soon as Mo Qingyun said that, everyone was stunned and stared at Mo Qingyun with their eyes wide open. Chang Wei was too domineering and overbearing. It seems that young Master Chang Wei cares a lot about Wang Yuesher. Seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, Steward Huang smiled faintly and came to a conclusion. In his opinion, if Mo Qingyun didn't care about Wang Yuesher, he wouldn't have chosen to fight Xia Yi to the death. Of course, Steward Huang wasn't worried about Mo Qingyun's life. Given Chang Wei's status in the Tao Talisman sect, even if he fought Xia Yi to the death, Xia Yi wouldn't have the guts to kill Chang Wei. Although Xia Yi was a genius in the Tao Talisman sect, his background was far inferior to Chang Wei's. He was only a personal disciple of a grand elder. If he dared to kill Tsun Takashi, not only would he be dead for sure, even his master would not have an easy time. "All right, I'll wait for you at the blood battle arena in the sect tomorrow." Seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, Xia Yi didn't want to stay any longer. He left with his followers after saying that with a gloomy expression. He came to challenge Mo Qingyun today to teach Mo Qingyun a lesson so that Mo Qingyun would back off. However, he didn't expect Mo Qingyun to be so ruthless and cut off his path of retreat. If he didn't accept the fight, it would mean that he was a coward and he wouldn't be able to stay in the Tao Talisman sect anymore. He had no choice. With his mid-stage 9 cultivation, he would be a coward if he was frightened by someone in the late-stage 8 seal realm. "Young Master Chang Wei, do you really want to fight Xia Yi to the death?" After Xia Yi and his followers left, Steward Huang asked Mo Qingyun with a solemn expression. Although he knew that Xia Yi wouldn't dare to kill Chang Wei, Mo Qingyun would be at a disadvantage if he fought Xia Yi with his late-stage 8 seal realm cultivation. "It's too late to back out now." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at Steward Huang's concern. He didn't take it to heart at all. After replying to Steward Huang, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much about it and walked directly to Chang Wei's room. What he was most concerned about now was where He Zhilan was imprisoned and how to get her out. As long as he found He Zhilan, he could even kill the patriarch of the Tao Talisman sect domineeringly, let alone Xia Yi. At the moment when Mo Qingyun was pondering where He Zhilan would be imprisoned, news of his fight with Xia Yi to the death spread in the Tao Talisman sect. What? Chang Wei wants to fight Xia Yi to the death? Is Tsun Takashi crazy? It's said that Chang Wei obtained an ancient immortal bow from the auction at the Talisman Ancestor Pavilion. It seems like the news is true. If that's the case, Chang Wei has something to rely on in his battle with Xia Yi. I don't think so. I think Chang Wei is puffing himself up at his own cost. That's possible. With Chang Wei's status in the Tao Talisman sect, Xia Yi wouldn't dare to kill him. Chang Wei is fearless. For a while, everyone had different opinions when they heard about the battle between Mo Qingyun and Xia Yi. When everyone received the news, Wang Wenquan and Wang Yuesher also received the news. Both of them revealed shocked expressions. Chang Wei is really fearless. I can't believe he wants to fight senior brother Xia Yi. I want to see how he dies tomorrow. Wang Wenquan sneered when he heard that Mo Qingyun wanted to fight Xia Yi. It was as if he could see Mo Qingyun being killed. Compared to Wang Wenquan's joy, Wang Yuesher was worried. She frowned and said, "Chang Wei doesn't care about me at all. Why would he fight Xia Yi to the death for me? What exactly is he thinking?" Wang Yuesher was puzzled again. She didn't know what Mo Qingyun wanted to do. Wang Yuesher suddenly realized that Chang Wei felt very strange to her. It was as if he had become a different person. Wang Yuesher revealed a worried expression after thinking hard to no avail. She was a little vexed as she said, "Chang Wei, that idiot? How can he be a match for Xia Yi with his advanced 8th seal cultivation? Is he tired of living?" The rest of the time passed quietly as everyone waited. Chapter 1149. Ancestor, today is the day of the duel between Chang Wei and Xia Yi. Would you like to take a look? Tao Talisman sect. Inside a secluded secret cultivation residence, a young man with a violet gold crown on his head and a dragon blood jade hanging from his waist was asking for instructions from an old man before him. The old man was Chang Yuhai, one of the ancestors of the Tao Talisman sect. Xia Yi's cultivation has reached the intermediate 9th seal, right? Chang Yuhai opened his eyes slowly when he heard the young man's words. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. The young man's expression froze under Chang Yuhai's gaze. He bowed respectfully and said, "Yes, I heard that the sect leader will hold an elder promotion ceremony for Xia next month. Oh, he's going to be promoted to elder. No wonder he dares to behave atrociously in front of the Chang clan. Chang Yuhai murmured to himself. His face turned cold and he said, I'd like to see how Xia will kill the Chang clan's people on the combat ring. As Chang Yuhai's words faded, he slowly stood up and shakily walked out of the cave. If someone who wasn't familiar with Chang Yuhai saw him like this, they might think that he was an old man who didn't have much time left. Seeing Chang Yuhai walk out, the purple-gold-crowned youth didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly followed Chang Yuhai out of the cave. Chang Yuhai and the old man soon arrived at the combat ring. At this moment, the surroundings of the life and death ring were filled with people. There were disciples and seniors of the Tao Talisman sect. From their point of view, a battle of life and death between two powerhouses whose strength was comparable to 9 seals was still very interesting. Ancestor Yuhai. Seeing Chang Yuhai arrive at the life and death arena, the people in the spectator stands at the side of the life and death arena respectfully stood up and bowed. In response to the crowd's actions, Chang Yuhai extended his wrinkled old hand and spread it open. There is no hierarchy in the life and death arena. All of you, sit down. After Chang Yuhai finished speaking, he no longer paid any attention to the people around him. He walked to the front of the spectator stands and sat down. When Chang Yuhai sat down, a middle-aged man in a golden robe and a middle-aged man in a blue Taoist robe came to the spectator stands. Greetings, sect leader and grand elder Ming Lin. Everyone stood up and bowed respectfully when they saw the middle-aged man in a golden robe and the middle-aged man in a blue Taoist robe. The middle-aged man in a golden robe was the sect leader of the Tao Talisman sect, Li Lulin. As for the middle-aged man in a blue Taoist robe beside Li Lulin, he was Xia Yi's master, Grand Elder Ming Lin. Li Lulin and Ming Lin waved their hands indifferently at everyone's salute, indicating that they didn't need to be overly courteous. After Li Lulin and Ming Lin waved their hands, they walked towards Chang Yuhai and respectfully said, Greetings, Ancestor Yuhai. Chang Yuhai nodded indifferently at Li Lulu and Lin Feng's greeting. His expression revealed a trace of displeasure. Seeing Chang Yuhai's reaction, Li Lulu and Lin Feng looked at each other and quickly understood each other's thoughts. They both knew that Chang Yuhai was angry about Xia Yi and Chang Wei's combat ring. Knowing Chang Yuhai's thoughts, Supreme Elder Minglin revealed an ashamed expression and explained to Chang Yuhai, Ancestor Yuhai, Xia Yi indeed lacked consideration in this matter. I have already reprimanded him not long ago and told him to control his strength in the battle. Therefore, Ancestor Yuhai, please do not worry. Xia Yi will definitely not harm Chang Wei in the battle. Hearing Ming Lin's words, Chang Yuhai's displeasure grew even stronger. He asked in return, Grand Elder Ming Lin, from what you've said, it seems that the people of my Chang clan are already so useless that we need others to show mercy in order to survive? I didn't mean that. Ming Lin was at a loss for words when he heard Chang Yuhai's displeasure. He didn't know how to refute and kept quiet. Seeing that Ming Lin didn't say anything, Chang Yuhai didn't pay any more attention to him and looked at the life and death arena again. To everyone's surprise, Xia Yi was the only one on the combat ring. Chang Wei was nowhere to be seen. Xia Yi smiled proudly when he saw that Mo Qingyun didn't appear. He laughed loudly. Chang Wei is such a coward. I don't think he has a problem with his lower body. He doesn't even have a lower body. After hearing Xia Yi's words, everyone looked at each other and whispered to each other. What do you think? Chang Wei hasn't appeared yet. Is he afraid? It's hard to say. After all, the difference in strength between him and Xia Yi is too great. There's no need for him to throw his life away. No matter what, if Chang Wei doesn't come, he won't be able to face anyone in the Tao Talisman sect. For a time, everyone was filled with disdain towards Mo Qingyun. They despised Mo Qingyun in their hearts. Chang Wei had declared that he would fight to the death with Chang Wei, but he chose to avoid the battle when it was time. What a coward! Humph! That coward Chang Wei is avoiding the battle. How infuriating! Wang Wenquan gnashed his teeth in anger when he saw that Mo Qingyun hadn't shown up yet. He was waiting for Xia Yi to ruthlessly torture Mo Qingyun to death when Mo Qingyun and Xia Yi fought, so that he could vent the hatred in his heart. In contrast to Wang Wenquan's anger, Wang Yuesher smiled sweetly. She was secretly delighted as she muttered to herself, "I thought you were very capable. It turns out that you're also afraid of death. You chose to avoid the battle. You're smart." Wang Yuesher muttered to herself. Then, she rolled her beautiful eyes and said with a sly smile, "It turns out that you didn't intend to fight Xia Yi to the death. Instead, you wanted to scare Xia Yi away. However, you didn't expect Xia Yi to accept your challenge. Now you've embarrassed yourself. Serves you right, ha ha." Wang Yuesher felt that she had seen through Mo Qingyun's thoughts and understood why Mo Qingyun wanted to fight Xia Yi to the death. When she thought about how Mo Qingyun would be mocked in the Tao Talisman sect in the future, Wang Yuesher felt smug again. Wang Yuesher didn't know that she had started to care about Mo Qingyun. She couldn't help but care for Mo Qingyun. Deep in her heart, she still hoped that Mo Qingyun wouldn't come and fight Xia Yi. Otherwise, he would be killed by Xia Yi. While Wang Yuesher was worried about Mo Qingyun, Xia Yi walked over to her with a smug look on his face. "Yuesher, don't worry. After today's incident, Chang Wei won't dare to pester you anymore." "Chang Wei is pestering me?" Wang Yuesher frowned instinctively when she heard Xia Yi's words. She shook her head and said coldly, "Senior brother Xia Yi, I think you're mistaken. Chang Wei isn't pestering me. Besides, you don't have to worry about me." Xia Yi's expression turned ugly when he heard Wang Yuesher's cold reply. He felt that he had lost face. Chang Wei is here. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.